There's nothing like jumping back into an old world like Gielinor after almost a decade of not playing. And that is what we are here to do today. I've been inspired by the YouTube series that I've been watching lately to make my own Old School RuneScape account with some restrictions. If you caught the account name at the beginning of the video, and you're familiar with some of the different restrictions that players put on accounts, you might be able to piece this one together for yourself. When it comes to accounts with restrictions in Old School RuneScape, the two most important things are the rules and the goals. So for those of you who are less familiar with the concept, let's go ahead and break them down now. The first goal of this account is what's called free-to-play to bond, and that's where you try to earn membership with only in-game currency. This is kind of the account type that got me interested in playing again. I like that you can start as free-to-play and you have a very obvious goal to work towards. The next account restriction is Chunkman. If you didn't know, the Old School RuneScape world is built out of chunks. This account type is not allowed to leave the chunk that they start in until they've completed every possible task with what's available inside of that one chunk. There are a few different rule sets for Chunkman accounts, the most notable being Vanilla, Extreme, and Supreme. I'll be taking a pretty extreme route, even though I won't be making an Ironman account because of what comes next. Lucky for you, you don't have to wait long to find out what comes next. And that is that we're going to be flipping once we unlock the Grand Exchange chunk. We're not starting there. The first goal is to make it there and then use flipping to get the money to buy membership. There aren't many specific rules to free-to-play to bond or flipping. The only thing I will mention is that I'm going to be playing like an Ironman even though my account will not be one, so I won't be asking for items or picking things up off the ground that other players have dropped. Here's the rules that I'll be using for the Chunkman side of the account. I took the Extreme rule set and tweaked it ever so slightly, and I will be including drop tables, which a lot of people don't do, although I won't be using the rare drop table because that's where the meme drops usually are. The reason there's a question mark by skill capes is because they're only available to members, and seeing as my first goal is to get to the Grand Exchange and unlock membership with a bond, that would basically mean that once I get there, I won't be unlocking a chunk ever again possibly, or at least for a very long time. And this will make even more sense when you see what chunk I'm starting in. If you have any ideas for how I can include skill capes without destroying my account, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear your ideas. And before we get on to where I'm starting, I want to do a few shoutouts. This account wouldn't exist if it wasn't for these guys because they are the people I've been watching and have inspired me to make this account. They would be Limpwort, Verf, and Flipping Old School. I will link their content down in the description. If you haven't seen their stuff, go check them out. They're very entertaining and the content is great as well. And with all of the goals and rules out of the way, we can finally go over which chunk we're going to be starting in. And for that, I have a little test of your RuneScape knowledge. The music track that you unlock in this chunk is playing in the background right now. So go ahead and take a listen and leave your guess in the comments. I will see you on the other side. Surprise! It's the most boring chunk of all time to start in, Mudskipper Point. Before you click away because now this whole video seems like a joke, I will tell you there was a reason behind picking this chunk. Since the ultimate goal is to get to the Grand Exchange and gain membership through bonds, I thought it would be cool to start in a place that fit the theme. So the basic backstory is we were traveling by boat and we crashed and we washed up on Mudskipper Point. And that brings us to the here and now with nothing to our name and everything to prove. One rule I forgot to go over earlier is that we will be randomly unlocking chunks and not choosing them. But as you can see from this screenshot, we can't actually get into that chunk to our northeast, so we will just be taking the north chunk. So finally, we have our first set of chunk tasks. The only official chunk task here is to kill a giant rat, but because they have a 100% drop rate on bones and raw beef, I decided to add the goblin drop table. They do technically spawn in the Remington chunk, but they wander in here often enough, and I wanted something to do in at least the second chunk since there wasn't anything to do in the first one. For a standard RuneScape account, this couldn't really be a bigger joke, but for what we have available, it actually is quite annoying. The only food source in this chunk is from the giant rats, which are just as hard to kill as the goblins, and I don't have the ability to make a fire. This means that when my health inevitably gets down to 1, I have to go stand in the church and heal. And with an amazingly fast 1 hit point per minute default regen rate, this was less than ideal. There were times when I would cry, and I thought, this is the end. But it turns out I'm stronger than that, so we're back. And the clip you're seeing in the background here is me realizing that if someone leaves the jail door open, the small rats can get out. I don't even think they can hurt you, and they're pretty much just free experience. So when my health was really low, I started hopping worlds and looking for these small rats that were wandering into my junk. Ooh, so strong. Here we are, punching goblins in the face, taking them down one at a time, level 3 attack. I am prayer flicking thick skin. This has to be the most embarrassing thing that anyone has ever done, but we are gonna just keep at it. Ooh. And we got ourselves one of the items from the list, the best in slot, bronze square shield. Maybe this will improve our luck. What we gonna get? What we gonna get? What we gonna get? Okay. The air talisman, one of the more annoying things that we had to get. 1 in 28. 1 and 128 drop chance. Done. Just partaking in some frivolous activities. I have a little tradition where I get my prayer levels in the church when I remember. I'm trying to get this person to pose with me because there happens to be someone here. And ooh, we're gonna take that. I did ask them, they didn't respond, but we're just gonna pretend like they did that for us. And that's level 5 prayer. So that's gonna start making these trips last a little bit longer. We have an amazingly action-packed clip here. It got cut off, but as you can see from the inventory, we picked up the bronze bolts. So that's another item off the list. And then after a little bit of lag and some more punching, because that's what we do, we actually get another drop of bronze bolts immediately after. So if it wasn't done the first time, it's done now. Coming up on a little side goal that I had set for this chunk, since I knew we'd be doing a decent amount of combat, I was hoping to get out of here with base 10s and all of the different combat styles. And when we punch again, we will have achieved that goal. So that's level 10 in attack, and as you can see here, that gives us level 10 in each of the 3. Welcome to another cutoff clip because I'm a noob. As you can see, we have kicked and punched enough goblins to complete the drop table. We are at 131 total, and that is the brass necklace, which was the last thing that we were hunting. As you can see from this not at all blurry screenshot, we had to kill 184 goblins to finish the drop table, and the 1 giant rat, of course. And with that, we have completed all of the chunk tasks. The bronze square shield, bronze bolts, beginner clue scroll, brass necklace, and air talisman, most of which are completely useless to us, but they had to be done, so we did them. And if you would all please join me in my new favorite location in all of Old School RuneScape, the church, for a quick celebration. I might have gotten a bit carried away there. Anyway, back to the business end of things. Now that we've completed the drop table for the goblin, we are ready to roll our next chunk. Notable features here, we'll go over them in more detail in just a second, but just taking a quick look at the chunk picker map. Chunk number 1 has the entrance to the Asgardian dice engine on it, so that would be a lot of drop hunting and a lot of combat levels gained, and we'd have to do all that with no food source. Chunk number 2 presents more of a skilling grind. There's a bronze axe there and a small mine, so we'd have to get level 40 mining to mine some gold, and there's also a few NPCs there, so some drop tables there as well, but definitely less combat focused. As promised, a more detailed look. We came to the spot in between both of the chunks we could possibly roll to examine them. The Remington chunk would have us get level 40 mining to mine the gold ore, along with drop tables from Anha and Hingel, who you can murder over and over again in their house. It's kind of weird, but we'd have to get the Chaos Rune, Cabbage, Iron Dagger, Bronze Med Helm, so really not much of a gear upgrade from this chunk. And the Asgardian Ice Dungeon, like I said, presents a lot of combat material. We would have to get level 20 attack and defense to wield some of the mithril drops, along with Iron Plate Body and Legs. A mithril ore and banana would be 1 in 128 drops to hunt, and Death and Cosmic Runes at the same drop rate. This dungeon does actually scale very well. It has everything from a level 6 Mugger spawn to level 57 Ice Warrior spawn, but it would still be quite a grind to finish all the drop tables. And that is all there is to say. Let's see what chunk we're going to next. Remington. It looks like we are going to be doing some mining. If I'm honest, this was definitely the chunk that I wanted. It's going to take less time and it will give me a few upgrades and chance to level up my combat skills before I really have to start going hard in the combat area. So let's go see what this chunk has to offer. The first thing you always unlock when you walk into a new chunk is the music tracks, and with this one we actually have 2. So now we can jam to Attention and Emperor as we grind out our new goals. But before we do that, we are going to stroll on up to Anhan Hingel's house, who you'll meet again later, and grab our first weapon on the account, the Bronze Scimitar. It's not actually a chunk task to get this because there is a better one available through drops, but we'll go over all of the goals after we are finished exploring this chunk and getting all the free stuff it has to offer. I finally have a way to cook that delicious rat meat that I have so readily available, but it still gives us our first source of food on the account and was one of the major reasons that I wanted to roll the Remington chunk before the Asgardian Ice Dungeon. So no matter what combat grinds we get ourselves into, we at least have some, even though it is a terrible form of food. Welcome to Brian's Archery Supplies. Actually a pretty sweet shop to have, with one unfortunate drawback, and that is it doesn't have standard bows, so we can't actually get our range training started until we get a hold of one of those, or possibly consider trying to lamp to level 5 so that we could just start with an oak bow. We're gonna go take a look at the crafting shop, although from looking at the tasks on the chunk picker, I don't think this gives us any value right now. We don't have access to any level 1 crafting, and we don't have a furnace, so I don't even see it being useful for quite a while. And that brings us to the last shop, the general store. It's got a couple things that we can make use of. The tinderbox, so that we could start our own fires. We'll buy one now, even though this would have been more useful if we didn't have the range. And of course we can sell off some of the junk that we don't need and start building our gold stack, which will be very slow, but eventually we'll have a bank and access to better shops that we can actually make use of, so there's no reason not to start building it. And now that we have that tinderbox, we can cross off one of the chunk tasks, which is to just light a fire. While we're on the topic, let's talk chunk tasks. As I mentioned before, we now have access to a tinderbox, so we need to make use of our level 1 fire making skills to burn logs, and that's already done. Next, we'll need to make use of our amazing level 1 cooking skills to cook some delicious rat meat, and that also unlocks our first food source for the account. And the big skilling goal for this chunk is to get level 40 mining so we can mine some gold ore in the Remington mine. Moving on to our best in slot chunk tasks. I misspoke earlier when I said the bronze scimitar wasn't a requirement. It is actually our best in slot melee weapon, so we do have to get it, but it practically gets itself. The other two upgrades I'm going to walk away with are the bronze med helm and the iron dagger, which I will be getting from Anha and Hengel, who I will introduce you to now. These two poor souls live a quiet life in Remington, and I am going to just have to run into their bedroom and murder them on repeat until I get all this stuff. As far as rarity is concerned, the worst we have to grab is a 1 out of 128, but there are 2 of them, as you can see. The most useful things we'll get out of this grind are the runes and the iron dagger for a little bit of magic experience and DPS increase. But since the last thing we did was finish the goblin drop table, I am going to start by getting the 40 mining requirement out of the way. So in the background here this whole time, I've been hanging out at the little store that I now have access to and selling off everything I don't need so that I can make as much space in my inventory as possible. And so this brings us to our first, and I'm sure not last, staple of every RuneScape series: the mining leveling montage. Big milestone coming here. We are now level 15 mining, which means we can tap into the iron ore. And that is what we will be mining all the way up to level 40. And this will be a nice boost to our XP per hour. Level 30, 10 more to go. Do it, bot. Don't steal my ore and ruin my montage. Oh, you savage. And so ends our first skilling grind. We have made it all the way to level 40 on iron ore with the bronze pickaxe so that we could mine this fancy looking gold ore over here and complete one of our chunk tasks. The grind wasn't too bad. The worst that we had to deal with was fighting the bots here, honestly. There are tons of them mining the iron, so I had to hop worlds a lot and find worlds where I could actually get access to 2 veins next to each other so I could do it efficiently, but that was the worst I had to deal with, so it really wasn't too bad. So whenever my guy decides to actually mine the gold ore instead of just hitting it, we will call this chunk task complete. And there it is. We have mined a gold ore. I also was saving this clue geode, so let's open that and see if it happens to be one that's nearby. And wow, look at that. That is very lucky. It is actually the only step that is really close. It is right over in Port Sarim. So with one lucky chunk roll, we could be able to complete our first beginner clue step. While we're checking off the big skilling tasks, we might as well check off the small and the last skilling task, which is to cook some meat, which we have to get from the rats, so we'll be using this rat meat during our combat grind, which is kind of gross, but should help things out and speed things up from the goblin drop table completion. Absolutely humongous level coming in here. With our next hit, we will be 16 strength and 1 boneberry away from level 9 prayer, and look at this, we got the cabbage on the kill as well. This is going to be a stacked clip. Okay, there is one of the items we needed for best in slot and to complete the drop table, the bronze med helm. First, helmet on the account, so big buff coming in. There we go, another drop needed from the table, the Earth Talisman. Check it off the list. Hey, yeah! 20 hit points, 20 attack, 20 strength, and 20 defense for a clean combat level 25. Started the clip a bit late here, but we got the iron dagger drop, which is cool, mostly because it lets us complete 2 chunk tasks with 1 drop. Oh, nice. There is the chaos runes I have been hunting. Here I was just minding my own business, and I got my first genie random. For those of you who aren't familiar, they just give you a little lamp that gives you a small amount of experience in any skill that you choose. So they can end up being really impactful to accounts with restrictions like this because you can get experience in things that you don't actually have a way to train. I hadn't actually thought about what skill I was going to use these lamps on, so I took some time to consider my options and decided to go with ranged. I have the archery shop here, and I can't make use of it until I get a standard bow or level 5 in ranged, and the only way for me to get a hold of a standard bow in the near future would be through a clue scroll reward, and that is not going to be consistent for me because there's only 1 or 2 completable steps nearby. And I don't have a clip for every drop that was on the drop table, so to finish off this chunk, we're just going to take a look at the drop from the loot tracker. If you combine the KC, because the drop tables are identical, it took us 370 to get everything we needed, but as you can see, we got the fishing bait, bronze arrow, all the runes, and copper ore that were required to officially finish the drop table. One thing I forgot to mention in the beginning was that I also have to start the quest Witch's Potion. This is my first quest that I can start, and I'm frustratingly close to being able to finish it. I just need 1 ingredient, and that is the Eye of Newt, which I can buy over in Port Sarim whenever I unlock that chunk. But for now, we've started it, and that's all we can do, so chunk task complete. And that takes us back to one of the most exciting places of the entire series, the chunk map. Let's hope we get chunk number 2, Port Sarim, that'd be sweet. Let's hope we don't get chunk number 3, that'd be terrible. Otherwise, let's get to rolling. Didn't really have anything to lose last time, but this one could sting. Ooh, we get lucky and we dodge. Number 3, we get number 4, Melzar's Maze. Not too bad. This was not a chunk I was afraid of by any means, only 31 chunk tasks, and none of them are crazy. You have to get the best in slot wizard's hat, which is a drop from the imp, and then as you can see, looking through this chunk task list, it is just all drops from the imp drop table, and then a few random goodies that we can literally just pick up. So nothing too bad here. With our combat stats boosted up a little bit from our murder spree last time in Remington, this really shouldn't take us too long at all. But let's get down on the map, open up this chunk, and get started on these tasks right away. I hadn't shown this plugin up until this point, but if you'd noticed in any of the clips that the background looks kind of dark and faded, that's actually because of this plugin I use that is specifically made for Chunkman accounts, and it allows you to put a shader on chunks that are not unlocked for you, and then to unlock one chunk at a time and remove the shader in real time. So here is me unlocking our new chunk, and now it looks beautiful and we can get started killing these imps. The spawn for these imps is in the new chunk that we just unlocked, but just like the goblins from episode 1, they do actually wander into the Remington chunk. So I was killing one of them before I had unlocked this chunk because it wandered in, and happened to get the blue wizard hat, which is the best in slot item that I need to get from the imp drop table, so I accidentally completed this before it was even a task. There are 31 drops overall that I have to get from the imp drop table. I will spare your eyes and not put them all on screen, and just put some of the more difficult ones that we need to acquire. As is the running theme of the series, the worst drop rate we have to get is 1 in 128, but this time there are 3 of them, so we'll have to see how our luck goes. And if you look at the inventory I'm selling off now, you will see that we already got the bread dough, Mind Talisman, Chef's Hat, and Flyer. This is a good inventory for us. We completed our bead collection, so we got one of each of the 4 colors. We got jug, pot of flour, the potion, grain, bucket of water. So yeah, knocking out this drop table nice and easy. Unfortunately, none of it's useful to us, so we are going to go ahead and sell it all off to the store. The imp kill count is starting to rise, and with that, so are the stats. We're currently working on strength, and there it is right on cue, level 25. Going to switch over to attack now and see what we can get that up to before we finish this drop table. Missed the recording of the level because that's what all the cool kids do these days, but if you look in the message box down in the bottom left, you'll see we just got our attack to level 23, and these fiendish ashes are actually a half-decent source of prayer XP, so with this last one, we should also get 18 prayer. Not bad. There it is, level 25 attack. Always feels good to even out the stats. Now we have 25 attack and strength, as you can see here. So we'll switch over to defense now, get that up to 25, and make all these grinds even easier. Same as last time, I didn't end up getting a recording of every single drop, so we'll end off the chunk by taking a look at the loot tracker. We had great luck with this drop table. We ended up only having to kill 115 imps to complete it. And with that, we can check off the pot, bread, and cooked meat. And with that, we've completed and defeated another drop table. Taking a quick look around before we move on from this chunk, we have a nice inventory full of food here. We ended up getting these law runes from a hobgoblin that wandered into the chunk from the nearby chunk, and we did pick up the blue wizard head as well. Looking at the stats, we got 25 attack and strength. We didn't get to start our defense training. We did pick up a fair amount of prayer levels, and I think all this sets us up really well for whatever we have to take on in our next chunk. And speaking of that next chunk, since this chunk was so simple and short, we're actually going to jump right back into the chunk picker and roll a new one. If you're enjoying this series so far, please take a second to like and subscribe. Welcome back to my favorite part of the series, the chunk picker. As you can see in the top right corner here, we got 31 out of 31 tasks complete. We got our blue wizard hat, and we finished the imp drop table. Nothing too crazy here, just had to bang it out. The worst that we had to deal with was chasing down the imps on 1 agility, because as you know, when you attack them, they randomly teleport away, and you just gotta find them and chase them down. But if that's the worst we have to deal with, that is not too bad. I'll quickly go over again the implications of each of the chunk rolls so that we know what we are getting into. Chunk number 1, the Asgardian Ice Dungeon, would require us to cast Fire Blast, which would require level 59 magic, which we would have to train all the way up to 59 magic on drops from these monsters. They have decent drop rates and amounts, so there are worse ways to train magic, but it is also not ideal. We would also have to burn yew logs and chop yew logs, which require level 60 woodcutting and fire making respectively, because we finally have access to an axe in the form of a drop from the ice giant. We would also have access to nature runes, so we would have to do some awkward smithing because we have our mine here with our pickaxe, which we've already saw in episode 2, and we have our smithing anvil down here, and we can get a hammer from the goblins here, but it wouldn't actually be that bad because we're gonna have to kill all these monsters so many times anyway that we would just stack nature runes passively. There are worse ways to do it, as you will find out in a moment. Moving on to chunk number 2, this is still my ideal chunk roll. These shops would be fantastic. We'd just be able to buy runes to train magic. We'd be able to get ourselves an adamant battle axe. We'd have good access to food finally. We'd also be able to fish, which is also another upgrade to our food sources. I would still have to purchase enough runes to get level 59 magic for Fire Blast, but because we'd have the rune shop, it just doesn't really scare me. Anchovy pizza, I can't remember exactly what cooking level that takes, but not too bad again because we have the food shop. We have another range even in there, so yeah, this would just be a huge upgrade for the account, and I'm really hoping to get it. And going from the good to the ugly, we have chunk number 3. Still, this is the chunk that we are trying to avoid. Looks pretty innocent at face value, but when you start to dig into it, it gets pretty ugly quickly. So wearing adamant armor is easy. We'd be able to buy that from the shop Wange Chains, which is a great name. And then we'd also have to get our level 60 wood cutting and fire making for the yew logs. And the way that we would obtain our iron axe is by smithing one. And it took me a minute to even piece together how we would be able to smith one, but we have access to air runes through the air wizard, and then there's also the fire, earth, and water wizard here, so that would allow us to train magic. And then the guard drops nature runes at a rate of 1 in 128. So we would have to train all the way up to super heat item off of those rune drops from the wizards and the guards and Anha and Hingle, and we would have to craft ourselves a gold bar, which requires a level 40 smithing. So yeah, this would be terrible. We would have to kill thousands, 10,000 or more probably guards just to get the amount of nature runes we would need, and also thousands of the wizards to just get the other elemental runes that we need to even train magic up that high. So really don't want this chunk. Want to avoid that at all costs. And our new chunk, the Crafting Guild, number 4, it says here that we would have to bake a cake, but it is assuming that we have access to the bucket of milk, which we actually wouldn't have access to because this fence stops us from being able to get around to the other side where the milking cow is. So we'd have to put baking a cake in the backlog for now, but we would have access to this hobgoblin spawn point on this little peninsula, and we would have to just complete their drop table. I guess the biggest bonus of getting this one, if we were to get it, is that they drop nature runes at a rate of 1 in 64 instead of 1 in 128. So if we were to then get chunk number 3, this would give us slightly better access to nature runes, although not ideal in the least. So with all the details taken care of, we now know what we are rolling for and what it means to get each of these different chunks. That means we can head into rolling. We didn't get screwed last time, but we also didn't get Port Sarim, which I really wanted for the different reasons I've already explained. So I'm really hoping that we can get lucky and just get that one now. And obviously We do not want number 3. So let us see what fate has in store. Ah, the crafting guild, okay. It's not what I wanted, but it also isn't that painful. It's pretty similar to the last chunk actually. It's just one major drop table to complete. I say major, but this one's even smaller. We talked about this cake, we can't actually cook that. Get the steel weapon upgrades, that'll be nice. And there's really not a whole lot on the drop table, so this shouldn't be too bad. I'm gonna go ahead and backlog making a cake and the killing of the cows and calves because, as I mentioned, I can't reach them. And all backlogging does is takes them off the chunk task list for now so that I don't have to look at a bunch of tasks I can't complete. We'll go ahead and bring them back in when we do have access to them. But for now, let's get into the chunk and see what there is to see, even though I know it's just hobgoblins. It didn't cross my mind to give you a proper tour of the Melzar's maze chunk because there really wasn't much to see, but I'll go ahead and do that now before we open up the new chunk. We can't get into the actual maze because it's locked behind a quest, and so are both of these transportation methods. And this house over here is just for a quest that we also can't start. So the biggest thing we have here that we'll use in the near future is these yew trees. Whenever we get an axe, we'll have to get level 60 wood cutting and level 60 fire making to chop and burn them. This chunk didn't come with any music tracks either, but the new one comes with 3, one of which we are jamming to now. That is Nightfall, and then we also got access to Miles Away and A Long Way Home. And with that, we can speed our way on over to the new chunk and give it the old unlock. There it is. It's just as beautiful as you imagined, isn't it? So yeah, there's the crafting guild and all those beautiful cows that we don't have access to, which is a shame because it would have sped up the time it takes to gather food. We also can't access this mine, but that doesn't really bother me. And as you can see, we're just one tile short of being able to get around this building. So yeah, that is why we're stuck on this south side. And the main feature that we have is where I'm headed now, which is the hobgoblin spawn, which is way out at the end of this very long peninsula. There are tons of them, so the nice thing about having to complete their drop table is I'll never have to wait for them to spawn. But unfortunately, they are level 28. I could probably take out 1 or 2 now, but it would take probably a whole inventory of food. So I'm actually going to head back to our best friends Anha and Hengel and just get the combat stats and prayer stats up a little bit.
Hey Henja, do you mind if I murder your parents a few hundred more times to beef up my combat stats so I can kill enough hobgoblins to complete their drop table? I know it's inconvenient, but I swear it's only so I can complete a chunk task and then I'll stop bothering you. I promise I'll. Oh. Okay then. I'm back.
Alright, 28 attack, 29 strength, 25 defense, and 21 prayer coming in. Let's go montage out this hobgoblin drop table. 292 kills later, we find ourselves with a completed drop table with 53 limpwort roots, 11 steel daggers, and 18 law runes. And that marks another chunk complete. Just to give you a little insight into what it took to complete the Hobgoblin drop table, I have on screen for you a sped up version of one full run of me killing Hobgoblins. My stats were barely good enough to take these guys on, so even with a full inventory of food and prayer flicking, I was only able to get a sad 8 kills per trip. If you remember from the montage, I had to kill 292 total to complete the drop table, so if I was only able to do 8 per trip, that means I had to do about 36.5 trips. With each trip taking about 16 minutes, that would math out to 584 minutes, or about 9.7 hours of this riveting gameplay. With all that out of the way, there is nothing left to do but smash that chunk button and see what fate has in store for us next.
Come on, Port Sarin.
Wake up. It's me, reality. You didn't just dream that. You rolled the death chunk. Why are you laying in bed? You got grinding to do, bro. Yeah, dude, I know. But I just wanted Port Sarin. Would have made this shit a whole lot easier. Well, yeah, of course it would have made it easier. But is that why you started a Chunk Man account? So you could have it easy? Well, no, but I've never done a grind like this before. This could take months. Heck, this could take a year. I don't even know where to start. Yeah, you're right. It's a lot of levels, and it's gonna take a long time. But think back to series like Settlement is Thailand. The reason the master plan is so helpful is that it forces you to break all of your problems down into small ones, and then you'll find sufficient ways to complete all of them, one by one. You owe yourself that at least before giving up. Hey, master plan, one by one. You might actually be onto something. So as you just heard, this chunk is pretty intimidating, and it's gonna be a big test for me. Obviously, I knew a tough grind was going to come my way eventually, but when I sat down and started to plan out this series, this wasn't the one I had in mind. While I'm sure there are a lot of people who have done very similar grinds, I think this one is kind of unique. The reason I say that is because I'm not just hunting one single item and praying for good RNG, and I don't just have to get a lot of levels. I kinda have to do both a lot of different times. I'll explain the tough ones soon, but right now we're gonna check off the easy ones because that's all I could think of to do when I first rolled this chunk. As I'm sure you remember from last episode, we were locked off from the northern section of the Crafting Guild chunk because of the end of the chunk being just one tile too short. But now we have access to it, so I grabbed a pair of shears and some wool, and we will spin our first ball of wool for our first crafting XP on the account, and an easy chunk task complete. Haven't come up with a full plan for tackling the bigger tasks. I am brainstorming that while I work on the guard drop table. There isn't much to the drop table, and we take them down pretty easy with our new gear, but still bothering to prayer flick and needing to refill on food. But as you can see, we hit some pretty high numbers now, decently consistent, and there's the steel arrow, so get to mark one of the 3 off the list. We get a cheeky level 38 hit points here, which is nice, and I thought I would backtrack a little bit and talk about the music tracks that we unlocked with this chunk. Since we are just barely able to skirt around this wall now and get into Southern Falador, we unlock 3 new music tracks: Arrival, Fanfare, and Workshop, the last of which is on in the background as we speak. What you know about 38 defense? Probably about as much as you know about 28 prayer. Nothing. Oh, this is an intense battle. We are barely hanging on for dear life here, but I think with prayer flicking we can get lucky and finish him off. And oh, look at that, the body talisman. I don't know what happened to my clip of getting the iron ore drop from the guard, but I don't have one, and I seem to have reset the loot tracker, so you guys will have to take my word for it that I got it. If you can think of any punishment that I should have for this, go ahead and throw it in the comments. With most of the easy stuff out of the way and some time to brainstorm, it is time to talk about the pain and suffering that this chunk is going to cause me. To find the first factor that triggers this chain of events, you have to go all the way back to the first couple minutes of the series, the rules. I decided to count drops as a form of item sources regardless of their drop rate. What this means for us is that the air runes dropped by the air wizard who lives in our newly unlocked chunk gives us the ability to train magic by casting Airstrike, the level 1 spell. We've had access to almost all of the runes that we could make use of to cast spells up until this point, but they've been completely useless to us because we've had no air runes, so we couldn't get past level 1. The second factor is the unfortunate fact that guards and hobgoblins both have nature runes on their drop table, meaning that we have access to nature runes and fire runes, which means we need to train our magic all the way up to level 55 to cast high-level alchemy. This was already going to be a huge grind on its own, even before taking unfortunate factor number 3 into account. And this is that there is a random pickaxe spawn in Anha and Hengel's house, which means we can make our way up to the Remington mine and get the copper and tin that we need to make bronze bars and start our smithing training. Additionally, to the south of the mine, as you remember from episode 2, there are 2 gold ore spawns, which means we need to superheat a gold bar to complete the smithing requirements for this chunk. And as a side bonus slap in the face, because we can go through the bronze and iron smithing table, that means we can create our first axe. So we will have to get level 60 wood cutting and fire making to cut down and burn the yew trees in our chunk. But wait, there's more! Now that we can get around to the northern end of the crafting guild, we can get into the cow pen and kill cows and milk cows, which means we also need level 40 to bake a cake. Wow, chunk, way to f us over. But that's enough about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. If you remember from our I talked myself down by realizing that I can break this ridiculous grind down into smaller ones that are more feasible. This plan went through many iterations and changed from a 3 to a 4-step plan somewhere along the way, but here is what I came up with. Step 1 of the plan is to gather 509 mind and air runes to cast our way to level 17 magic. This will unlock the wind bolt spell for us, and unfortunately our only source of mind runes is from Anha and Hengel, so we will have to get about another 4,000 kill count on them to get the mind runes needed. Along the way we'll bury every bone we can find, because we want to make it to level 37 prayer so we can use the protect from magic overhead prayer. I'm also going to make sure I pick up every rune I see from here on out, because we are going to need a lot of runes. It's tempting to just go over the full plan right now and reveal all the steps to you guys, but I'm not going to do that for 2 reasons. First off, we are almost 13 minutes into this video and it's been mostly me talking and text on the screen. I want to get some action and clips into this video. Secondly, the biggest benefit of telling you guys my plan would be to get some feedback in the comments and maybe some ideas of how I could increase my efficiency for this grind. But unfortunately, this grind is already done and dusted, and so is the chunk. When I first started this account, I was extremely excited and was tempted to put out a video per chunk starting right away, but as soon as I rolled this chunk, while I was editing the first video, I realized this was going to take a very long time, and I wasn't sure how I was going to break it down into videos. So everything you've seen up until now and everything for the next few videos was pre-recorded and not caught up with where I actually am live on this account right now. I imagine sometime in the near future I will hit a grind that will cause this video series to catch up to where I am live, but for now, let's just all smash the like and subscribe button and get down onto the map. We got a pretty nice level coming in as we prayer flick for our life against these hobgoblins. It's really close to this milestone, so I just wanted to get it out of the way before I went down to start working on Anha and Hingle. One more hit, I believe. Yep, there it is. Level 40 strength, and I'll give you a full overview of where the stats are at as soon as we finish this bad boy off. Assuming we don't have to run away because he hits us with another 3. We'll see. But yeah, there they are. 40 attack, strength, and defense. Pretty sweet way to start. The murder spree continues, but not without gains. We are burying some bones here, getting real close to level 30 prayer. I think we just need one more, maybe 2. Let's grab these and see if this is enough. Man, we're just one slapping them, that's rude. Yeah, there it is, level 30 prayer and a combat level as well. So, making big strides during this grind. Oh, how the time flies when you're having fun. Here we are burying another set of bones in our iconic setting, the church for 31 prayer. After a good bit of time killing Anha and Hingle, I decided to run over and give the water and air wizard to try, or really all the wizards, but I'm learning quickly that the only 2 that I can handle right now are the water and the air wizard. The earth and the fire wizards hit like a truck, so we are not ready to take them on yet, but this will be a good way to stack some runes. And Anha and Hingle, oh nice, 42 hit points as well, side bonus. Anha and Hingle don't hit me at all, so I'm waiting for my health to regen, and then I'm going to come up here, fight until I'm almost dead, go back down to Anha and Hingle, rinse and repeat. With this next slap, we should get ourselves goal level 45 strength. Pretty sick. As you can see, we're at 285 Hingle kills and 279 Anha kills. Got about 100 mind runes so far. Gonna switch over to attack to get that up to 45. Oh, sweet. Some more earth runes for the collection. They are a 1 and 64 drop rate, so we don't get them too often, unfortunately, from these guys. Oh, nice. This is a clip and a half, isn't it? 2 earth rune drops on back-to-back hills. How cool does that look? And how needed is that for the rune stack? Just finishing up Evil Bob random number 2, I believe. Let's see where this gets us. No, it wasn't a dream, bro. You got fishing XP, and you're level 7. Cool.
What is all that racket? What are you up to over there, Romic? It ain't me. Nor I.
Nor I. And Helen Henger, is it you too?
Nah, it's the dude upstairs montaging again.
It's an exciting time to be alive. 508 mind runes acquired and plenty of air runes to spare. Of all the NPCs I can kill, of course Anha and Hingle have the worst defensive penalty, which means we are headed upstairs to participate in Voldemort Simulator. Welcome back. to the church I'm trying to make famous for a huge moment for the account. That's right, level 37 prayer as predicted from grinding out magic, which gives us access to protection from magic, ironically. And this is a massive boost for us right now. While this was only step 1 of 4, we had a lot of huge gains along the way, but don't take my word for it. Let's take a look at our total level here. We started the episode at 266 total level and are now at 349, so 83 levels gained. And that includes getting all the way to level 25 magic. The runes that I was hoping would get us to 17 got us well beyond, I think because of Anha and Hengel's really terrible magic defense. But we have tons of new spells that we can use, including these Chaos and Earth and Fire runes. I was cursing and then using either Water Bolt or Wind Bolt, and that was getting me tons of experience and even allowing me to one-shot them near the end of the grind, which was really sick. Even with getting further than expected, we have some decent runes left over, and looking at all of the melee skills is really nice, getting close to 50 strength and then 46 attack and defense. Every level and gear upgrade we made is going to be needed for what comes next in step 2. For now, let's take a look at the playtime on the account. It is sitting at 1 day and 23 hours. We are going to want to take note of that because this is going to go way up before we get out of this chunk. But for now, let's enjoy a small victory, and I will see you all in the next episode. Welcome back, friends, for Shipwrecked Episode 5. As I'm sure you remember after our quick recap, we rolled a really tough chunk that is going to cause a lot of grind, had a little panic attack, and then came up with and completed step 1 of the 4-step plan. If you're just stumbling across the series for the first time and you want to jump right in and see what I've got myself into, go ahead and keep watching. If you'd rather go back and catch up, I'll put a card for you on the screen so that you can go back and see the previous episodes, and all this stuff will make a whole lot more sense. With step 1 now completed, let's talk about what we've gained from this grind. Probably the best thing that came out of this was that we overshot our goal to get to level 17 magic and got all the way to 25 with the runes that we got. But the reason we were targeting level 17 was so that we could make use of the Chaos rune drop that the Hobgoblins have. Now, I know what you're thinking, it's not the best drop rate, and you're right. But they are our only source of nature runes, so we are going to be killing a crap ton of them, so we might as well be able to use those chaos runes that we get to get more magic experience along the way. And the reason we wanted levels 37 prayer was so that we could use protect from magic, and that gives us really good access to elemental runes from the elemental wizards that are in our new chunk. Essentially, all of this was done to give us a somewhat efficient method of acquiring runes so that we can train magic, which leads us straight into step 2. Step 2 is to unlock the Superheat item spell, which requires us to get to level 43 magic. The reason we need this spell so badly is because our current chunk task is to smelt a gold bar, but we have no access to a furnace. And we also need to get level 60 wood cutting and fire making, but we don't have access to an axe outside of making one. Since the only function for this spell is to allow you to use a combination of nature and fire runes to turn raw ore into bars, essentially voiding the need for a furnace, this will be our method of training smithing. To get all of the runes necessary to bolt, strike, curse, and telekinetic grab our way to level 43, we are going to have to collect around 1200 law, body, and chaos runes. That'll take about 5000 hobgoblin kills is my rough estimate. Then we're also going to need our elemental runes from the elemental wizards, and I think we'll need to kill around 1000 of those, maybe more. Along the way, we will stash all the nature runes that we get, so that we can have them for our smithing grind later. And last but not least, we will be praying this whole time that we get maze random events, because those are a good source of runes, nature runes specifically, so we could save ourselves a lot of hobgoblin kills with some good luck on the maze random event. Now that you are clued in on the next step of the plan, let's get down to where we'll be calling home for a very long time, the peninsula with the hobgoblins. If you ever doubted I was massively strong, there can be doubt no more. Level 50 strength. Now that we've got that little milestone out of the way, I'm going to switch over to attack and get that up to 50, then get defense up to 50, so we can take less hits and hopefully extend these trips. I'd say right now I am getting maybe 64 kills per trip, and that's with a full inventory of prayer and food, and that is just exactly drop rate, which is not good because that means I would need to do a shit ton of runs to get the nature runes necessary. So I definitely need to find a way to make these trips last longer, and the only way to do that is to have better stats overall. 47 attack, 49 attack, and 60 combat, 49 hit points and 50 attack, 61 combat from a no pop-up, 47 defense. Just trying to get some food, but I got 48 defense as well. 38 prayer, mad religious, and 50 defense for base 50 melee stats. Look at that. I know you like seeing those gains, and I can't blame you because we are looking mad strong and it is sick. I came up with a little bit of a new plan as I was going through this to get some more elemental runes. I am using my Protect from Magic prayer at the wizards here to get elemental runes. Now I can take on all 4 of them, so I can stack water, earth, air, and fire runes pretty effectively. And then when my prayer runs out, I am going over to the hobgoblins and using a full inventory of food there. And that way my runs are very productive when it comes to runes. Feeling good, still a long way off, but I like this setup, so we're gonna run with this for a while and see what happens. Little side mission I had going on was anytime I would run past an imp, I would kill it just to see what drop I would get, because I have to bake a cake, if you remember, which requires several drops from the imp drop table, including an egg and a pot of flour. And I finally got everything I needed to get the unbaked cake, and we will see if we can get it on the first try. I have a pretty decent cooking level, so pretty good odds, but let's see. Oh yeah. And that's another chunk task complete. Potentially grind-saving moment here provided by RNG, our first maze random. This could save us tons of time by getting us a nature rune drop at the end that would save us having to kill hundreds, if not thousands, of hobgoblins. So let's pray for some good luck. Womp womp. No nature runes, that is very unfortunate. The feather and arrows are completely useless, so that was kind of a waste. Enough to make you want to cry. I guess the coal is slightly useful in the future, but not what I was looking for. Someone mentioned in the comments of my last video this huge secret that I had no idea was here. It was just sitting in here in this chest the entire time, and it is going to save me so much time during this grind. And it was just right under my nose the whole time. Check out what is in here. Oh, I got you good. Oh, I got you good. But seriously, thanks for being here. I appreciate all the likes, comments, and subscriptions that you guys are throwing my way. It helps me know that there are people out there who want to watch an account like this, and that the grinds aren't all for nothing. Plus, it helps keep you tuned in to huge milestones like 41 cooking. Clean looking combat level coming in, level 55 attack and level 66 combat. Time to switch to defense and bring it up to speed. Decided to sprinkle in some magic training just because I'm sick of hobgoblins, and there is 32 magic. No rest for the wicked, and by that I mean the hobgoblins. 51 defense. 52 coming in hot. 53 defense. Can you guess what's coming next? 40 prayer, obviously. How could you not see that coming? That unlocks Protect from Missiles for us, may come in handy later, but the biggest factor here is that in 3 levels I can stop burying bones, which will be sweet, and maybe speed up this process just a bit. And for those of you who I offended with my misdirection, here is the 54 defense you were waiting for. Of course the pop-up doesn't work for this milestone, but I just got 55 defense, which puts us at base 55 melees. Pretty sweet spot to be. Back to training strength because why not, and level 56. It's been a while, but we got another maze random. Let's see if we can get luckier this time and snag some nature runes. A double steel arrow drop and some feathers. That is completely useless to us. Not gonna say never lucky because I hate that saying, but it hasn't been good so far. .43 magic achieved with these training methods. Good lord, all I can say is... The 2-minute montage that you just saw encapsulated about 2 months worth of gameplay with the little amount that I am able to play each day. I started off pretty slow because it just seemed so far away at the beginning, but the closer I got, the more attainable it felt, and I started to pick up steam, and the sessions were getting longer and longer, and I was getting more interested in completing it every day. I always forget to take a look at the actual time played in game so that I can have the exact amount, but on screen for you now is what my stats were at the beginning of this video, and here is where they lie now. As you can see, most of the levels come from the melee combat styles, but I did get 2 ranged levels with lamps, and I also got magic all the way up to 44, bringing the grand total of levels gained to 90 in just this video. These are absolutely huge gains, and once we get a proper food source, there really isn't anything stopping us other than our gear from taking on anything that free-to-play has to offer. All video, we've been keeping track of the Hobgoblin kill count. Now is your chance to pause the video and drop in the comments what you think the final kill count is before I reveal where we ended up at the end of step 2. In the background, you just saw me finish my second best maze. The biggest asset I got from that was 119 Chaos Runes, which just sped up the magic grind to 43 and reduced the amount of hobgoblins that I have to kill to get the runes. For those of you who might be wondering what I did with the mithril ore, I ended up just selling it. I don't have access to coal, otherwise I would have considered whether or not I have to train my smithing up even higher to smelt that into a bar, but I have no coal as it is, so I just sold it because I'm trying to build my cash stack in the very little ways that I can in this chunk anyway. And the maze that's playing in the background now is what I would consider my best maze random so far, although it sadly does not provide nature runes. It gave me some more chaos runes, and this was prior to getting 43 magic, so this also just sped up the 43 magic grind, which was very welcomed at the time. I also got some death runes and coal. I held on to the coal because it will eventually help speed along the smithing grind in a very tiny way, and I sold the death runes because I'm just too far away from being able to use them. And with all that grinding comes the glorious moment of marking step 2 complete. Honestly, most of my estimations were on point. It took just under 5,000 hobgoblin kills and just under 1,000 wizard kills to get all the runes needed. On screen now is what my inventory looked like at the end of this. Just over 2,000 fire runes and 363 nature runes stashed to get me started on the upcoming smithing grind. And I'm almost hitting that first cash stack milestone that every account should have, 100k. Somehow after 2 months of grinding, the only skilling challenge I was able to cross off was baking a cake, and the only other thing I can cross off is the remaining drops that I needed from the wizards. And this brings us to what can only be described as step 3 of the plan. This grind will be completely opposite of step 2. While that was all combat, this is going to be all skilling grinds. The reason that I didn't just kill hobgoblins until I could finish the smithing and magic grind is because I do get a damage increase and a defense bonus from being able to craft an iron scimitar and med helm. Those are both best in slot for me, so it will make killing hobgoblins a little bit easier. So I wanted to attain them as soon as I could, and once I can craft those by myself, I'll also be able to craft my first axe. Unfortunately, 60 woodcutting and fire making gets me absolutely nothing for the account. It's just a goal that I have to complete. The one bonus that it does have, and the reason I'm doing it now as opposed to later, is because I could get some maze randoms while I'm chopping down trees and lighting fires. So if I get lucky and maybe stack 100 nature runes in the process, that will just save me having to kill another 1,000 hobgoblins later. I believe I already have enough fire and nature runes stacked from my 5,000 hobgoblin kills to get to level 20 smithing, but you will have to wait until next episode to find out. Thanks again for watching and following me along on this journey. I've been enjoying playing the account, and even though this grind is easily the toughest I've ever done in the game, the insane gains that were made by completing step 2 have really motivated me to move on to step 3. For those of you who were paying attention, you will know that I have a long way to go. But it felt good to make those gains, and I look forward to doing a little bit more of an AFK grind with the smithing and woodcutting / fire making that I have coming up in step 3 of the plan. We ain't messing around in this episode. We are getting straight into the leveling montage. Let's grind out this smithing grind, level 5, to get us started. Level 20 smithing achieved. Let's put that brand new iron axe to work. Consider this your official welcome into episode 6 of the Shipwrecked series. I know we've already put in a ton of work in this episode, over 140 levels gained in that montage in just about a month's time, but if you've ever watched a woodcutting, firemaking, or smithing grind in your life, you'll know there is really nothing to see. So I figured I would just bust it out so we could get straight to this moment where we use our level 60 firemaking and woodcutting to chop and burn this yew log and tick off yet another chunk task from this evil chunk. If you're just stumbling across the series for the first time, you might wonder what's going on, and I can't say I'd blame you. If you're familiar with chunk accounts, I'm sure you'll have a vague idea of what's going on. You'd only need to go back to episode 4 to see the specific grind that this chunk has gotten me into. If you'd like to start from the beginning, or from episode 4, I will put cards for those on the screen right now. Otherwise, we are going to jump into the remaining goals that I have left to complete this chunk, and I'll explain why I just sold that iron axe that I worked for about 2 or 3 months just to get a hold of. The big elephant in the room grind left is level 40 smithing. Just in case you have forgotten, the smithing grind that you witnessed at the beginning of this episode was only possible because I did about 5,000 hobgoblin kills over the span of 2 months to acquire the nature runes to just get me to level 28 smithing. As you can see from the graphic on the screen, we need to get to level 40 smithing for a chunk task, and if you know how Old School RuneScape experience tables works, that puts us at 29% of the way to level 40. That is why in the background you will see me equipping myself with the best in slot gear I have available, because there are about another 10,000 hobgoblin kills incoming. It's been a little time since I have done combat, so gotta fill up on food, recharge the prayer, and get fully equipped again, which is what I'm doing in the background, and we get a little cheeky level 45 cooking, all from just this cow meat and the rat meat from previous. So step 1 will be to get over to the hobgoblins, get a couple more nature runes so that I can go back and smelt some iron and make an iron scimitar, because that is my best in slot DPS for this chunk, and I'm going to want to get a hold of that as soon as possible to make this 10,000 hobgoblin kill grind as short as possible, even though, well, you know what, it probably does make a big difference in the long run. You know, shaving off even 15 seconds per kill when you have to do as many as 10,000 is going to save a lot in the long run, so gonna get it as soon as possible. Now that the stats are beefier, my runs should last pretty long, and that's also gonna help this, and as the stats go up, the length of the runs will go up, and the amount of time that this grind will take overall will go down. It's still gonna be a long one, but you know, these are the things I have to look forward to so that I can get myself through it. Speaking of getting myself through it, another thing that helps is likes, comments, and subscriptions. Again, it helps me know that you guys are out there watching and enjoying the content. Thank you all for the support so far. Let's get back into the grind. I didn't record it for some reason, but if you look in the inventory, we got a hold of the 4 nature runes we need to make that iron scimitar and speed up this grind. So I'm back in the mine getting the 2 ore that I need. Gonna go smelt myself the new best in slot weapon and get right back to killing hobgoblins. I've been hanging out on this peninsula for a good bit more time, taking hobgoblins down one at a time. And I'm still bearing these bones, trying to work my way to the last of the useful free-to-play prayers, which is coming up here. And it'll actually speed up the grind a good bit when I can ignore bearing bones. But that's not why we're here. We're here because there's a big level incoming, if you didn't guess. Should be there. 63 strength, level 76 combat. And it's really starting to get faster taking these hobgoblins down, as you can see. As you can imagine, with this many hobgoblin kills, the levels are going to be flying. Another one incoming, and this one's pretty big. I would say, hopefully my last strength level for this chunk, but it is going to take a while, so we might end up circling back around the strength. But after this, I'll be switching to attack and defense to bring them up to par as well. And what level is it, you might ask? You're gonna see right now, level 65 strength. Real chunky for free to play. And look at that, the uncut ruby drop. That is pretty rare. Alright, we have a very big moment coming in here. We are about to get a new level in prayer, and the last one for this chunk. That's right. We are now level 45, which means we can use Mystic Might, which is basically, nope, not basically, it is the last useful prayer to us for now. Obviously later we will eventually be a member and we'll unlock other prayers, but this is the last one we can use for now, and that's great because wow, doors, really. I have trained all the way up to 45 on just bones, and it has been quite annoying, and it's also been slowing down my combat grind. We are currently sitting at 6,080 hobgoblins, and as you can see, 62 nature runes in the inventory, so we have quite a ways to go. So this is where I'm going to stop training prayer, which will hopefully speed up the nature runes per hour, which is very low. So yeah, excited to get this one. It'll also come in handy when we have to use all these runes to get ourselves from 47 to 55 magic. So it's a handy one, and it's the last useful one, so this is a great place to stop for now. You've been good to us, church. We are coming up on a milestone that I had absolutely no interest in crossing in this chunk, but was pretty inevitable considering the smithing grind and our access to nature runes is locked behind killing hobgoblins and maze randoms, which to date I have got 0 nature runes from, which is very sad, to say the least. But with this next kill, we are gonna get a pretty sexy level, 70 strength, and combat level 79. Yeah, it's that bad. I've been pretty unlucky with the drops. We are currently sitting at 8,256 KC with 512 nature runes. I'll calculate that drop rate for you on screen there, but we're a little bit behind, and we have 190, and we need 270 to get to the steel scimitar, and we need, I believe, 600 more total to get to level 40. So yeah, I'm actually gonna switch off of strength here and go to attack till 65, and then we're gonna go to defense 65 to hopefully make these trips last a little longer, because I do just now that I'm not burying bones, they're going a lot quicker, and I'd say I'm getting 100 to 150 per trip, and then I gotta run and grab food again and heal, and I just want to be able to make the trips last longer, because that's really the only way, other than grabbing the steel scimitar and iron plate legs when I do my next smithing grind. That's really the only other way I can increase or make this grind go faster, which I'm keen on doing. It looks like we are probably gonna have to go to around 15,000 probably to get all the nature runes we need, so we're a little over halfway, and I'm pretty over it right now. It's not the worst, but it's just getting monotonous, and the drop rate is low enough that sometimes I can get on and do 1 or 2 trips and not get a single drop of nature runes, which is just frustrating. And obviously it evens out, because this one I've only been on, this is my first trip, and I've had 3 nature rune drops already, maybe even 4. So good luck today, but other days, yeah, I'll do this for 1 or 2 hours and I won't get any, and that's just annoying. And yeah, like I've mentioned, I was really hoping to get at least like 1 nature rune drop from maze randoms to put a little bit of a dent in the pile that I need, but we've been really unlucky. We've got the wise old man a couple times in the past couple days, and he's not given us the maze random. And then the times that we have got the maze random, we just haven't gotten any nature runes yet. We got a really nice drop of chaos runes a long time ago, and we got some coal, which will decrease the amount of nature runes we need because it gives a little bit more smithing XP. But yeah, I was just really hoping to get some nature runes so that I don't have to kill all the kill hobgoblins for every single one of them. But no luck so far. We will keep at it though, because at this point we're probably 75% of the way done the chunk. And yeah, it's literally just, I think by killing hobgoblins and getting all the nature runes we need, and then doing that smithing grind, that will take us to level 51 magic, I'm pretty sure, just from using the nature runes. And then as you can see, we're amassing a decent stack of other runes, like these chaos runes, the law runes for telekinetic grab. I don't think I'm gonna have any use for the cosmic runes, but I've just been stacking them because I can. Also got a hold of the clue scroll that's over in Port Sarim again, so I'm kind of prepping for leaving this chunk, because cosmic runes and the the beginner clue scroll, those are things that could become useful or usable very soon depending on my next chunk roll. But yeah, I've never killed 8,000 of anything in RuneScape before. It's not that fun. It probably doesn't look that bad now, but that's because I'm way over leveled for hobgoblins. But when I started off this, I don't even remember what level I was, but we were under leveled to be killing them, so trips were super short and we were hardly getting anything, so that those kills took a lot longer than these kills are taking. So yeah, I am looking forward to moving on to a new grind, but we just have pretty much these hobgoblins in our way, and we're gonna get them out of the way. I just wanted everyone to know I'm a little bit over it right now. Quick rewind, about 2,000 kills ago, I got a hold of enough nature runes to get myself to level 35 smithing, which allows me to make my best in slot DPS weapon, the Steel Scimitar. But before we get back to the killing spree, here is a lamp for cheeky level 4 range. When I looked at this chunk a long time ago, it was just chunk number 3 on a chunk map. Pretty unassuming, southern Falador, not really that much content in it. This was what I thought 5 months ago. What I didn't realize is when you add these chunks together, it actually creates one hell of a task. A task that took 5 months to complete, 173 hours of gameplay, or 7 days and 5 hours if you like to look at it that way. We had to do many things in this chunk. We had to get level 40 to bake a cake, which wasn't the worst, but also not the easiest with what we had at our disposal. We had to buy some adamant armor. That was the easiest thing, other than crafting a ball of wool. Those two didn't even bat an eye at. Then there's getting level 60 fire making and 60 wood cutting so that we can cut these yew logs. But you ask, where do you even get an axe in these chunks? And I'll tell you, it's from the last 2 tasks. Get level 40 smithing, thanks to the Remington mine, to smelt a gold bar. And the reason we can do that is because we now have access to air runes, because there's an air wizard here. And there's hobgoblins over here that drop nature runes. You all know this by now. You've been watching me do this for 3 episodes. But I'm just doing a recap, so let me do my thing, because we finally arrived at the biggest moment in this account's history. We got all of our best in slot stuff. We put it on. We look beautiful. We got way too many combat stats. Level 65 attack, level 74 strength, level 65 defense. Dude, not now. Making a video. Sheesh. No respect. We cut ourselves off at level 45 prayer just to save time. Probably could be level 50 by now had we buried all those bones. There's the level 60 fire making and wood cutting we talked about. Level 48 cooking, we overshot that just because we needed that meat to go through all the combat grind, to get all the drops we needed. 69 hit points, 46 mining. This account's kind of starting to look like a beast. 655 total level. Not for long though, because as you can see, we're just short. But we've been working our asses off. Killed tons of these wizards. Tons of cows. 1,400. Just for food. Then there's hobgoblins. This is the real one. This is the one we've been working on. 13,775 hobgoblin KC. You looking creepy over here, Thurgo. I like that face in that window. Distracted again. 13,775 hobgoblin kills to get these drops so that we could finally smith our own gold bar. And that is the moment that we are all here to witness in this stupid little shack. Because you just had to have an anvil. So let's do it. Let's end the pain and the suffering of this chunk. There it is. Level 40 smithing achieved. We can now smelt a gold bar and make steel battle axes, which no one cares about apparently. Also, level 55 magic. Look at the coordination. That was too beautiful. We can now cast high level alchemy, the last goal that we had for this chunk. So, let's do it. Let's smelt a gold bar. Bam! Look at it. That's what we've been working 5 months for. To make a gold bar that we can't even use because we don't have a furnace. Oh, does it feel good to finally craft that gold bar. And then last, now that we just also got level 55 magic, we can cast high level alchemy. Couldn't be any other item that would be more poetic to do it on than the one that we just worked 5 months to get. So just as soon as we got it, we are going to make it disappear. And that, my friends, is the end of an era. The end of the Southern Falador chunk. We've done it. We've defeated it. It took a long time, but damn, are we happy to be done. And we can finally, for the first time in 5 months, think about rolling a new chunk. I kind of forgot that was even part of the equation, but here we are. I salute you, Southern Falador. I salute you, free-to-play chunk flip. I salute you, my personal body who had to do all the clicking. You've done it. You've achieved the goal. The time for waiting is over. After 5 months of hard work, it's finally time to pick a chunk. Port Sarim. Okay. That was kind of the one I wanted, like we talked about. It does not solve my furnace or nature rune issue, but it has so many positives for the account. I'll get to complete my first quest. Oh yeah, this is a great chunk, and it doesn't bring me any closer to this. And because of this fence here and our lack of agility, our next chunk roll will look just like this. So yeah, it doesn't actually unlock any new chunks for us unless we could use some of these boats. I will have to look into that. We might be able to use some of these boats. Chunk tasks. Wield an adamant weapon, which is easy. We already have 30 attack. So we just got to go buy one. Level 55 cooking was correct to bake an anchovy pizza. Level 15 fishing to catch raw anchovies to put on said pizza. And level 59 to cast Fire Blast, but we get to do it using our cash deck and just buy runes. How freaking nice. So Adamant Battle Axe is what we'll have to buy. Starting Pirate's Treasure, finishing Witch's Potion, killing a seagull, a thief, another thief, and a woman. Not bad at all. Some really actually handy grinds to get out of the way. I'll make great use of that magic level and that cooking level. Oh, we're gonna have food for days now whenever we do inevitably get the dungeon. Yeah, this is just a great chunk. Wanted this one a long time ago, but I'll take it now. It feels like a great reward after a hard 5 months of work to get it. So let's get down into the chunk. I had to go back and add this in because the support that I've gotten in January from the video and the short have just been amazing. A big thank you from me to you for all the views, likes, comments, and subscriptions. Whether you're just stumbling across the series now, or you've been following along and just haven't taken the time to hit that button, please consider doing it now. Every time someone does, it really helps the content reach more people, and as a RuneScape player, I like seeing numbers go up. I mean, that's pretty much the whole game in a nutshell, right? Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. The town of Port Saran. A beautiful chunk with so many benefits for us. Our account. We finally get to unlock it. So let's do it. If I can remember how, it's been so long. I think I have to do that again, don't I? Yes. There it is. And I'm telling you right where we're going first thing. We're walking straight into this magic shop and we're gonna complain that they couldn't have moved themselves just over here to make our lives a little bit easier. Look at this place. Look at all these runes. You can just buy these. It's amazing. Who's this guy? Bot, probably. Cool. Anyway, yeah. This is so handy. I'm gonna buy an Eye of Newt. And I'm gonna go finish my first quest. Man, I don't even remember what we need. Let's look at this thing. We need rat's tail, onion, burnt meat. Easy, easy, easy. Let's go murder a giant rat, as if we have not done this 1 trillion times. Yo, bro, I need your meat again. And this should be the last time, because guess what? Look, I have access to a food shop. I don't have to live off of rat and cow meat anymore. What a luxury. And you all know where we get onions. We spent way too much time in this field eating cabbages like someone who ain't got nothing else to eat. So let's go grab an onion. They were never useful to us. Finally it is. And is that the only 3 things I need? Pretty sure this quest also ironically gives you magic XP, which is great. Rat's tail. Yeah, like we couldn't have used magic XP in the last jump. I mean, we need it now. We gotta get to 59, so. I shouldn't complain, I'm just being somewhat bitter because I'm finally done now, so. Holy bots, look at these people. Steven. Listen, you can't be here. You're a bot. They also look very broken, just wandering around in circles. Let's get a rat. Guess we can turn these roofs back off. And then we gotta go cook and then burn this meat, and we'll have everything we need. This feels great to do. I really like playing a chunk account for this reason, because like I spent so much time here and there was just content locked behind items I didn't have, and finally completing that chunk, I opened myself up to a whole new set of items, and just like that we can complete this quest, which is awesome. I pass the ingredients. She closes her eyes and does some magic stuff. Drink from the cauldron, that doesn't seem shady. It tastes horrible, but I feel powerful. Boom, done. First quest point, and indeed 325 magic XP. So, look at this. Big moves. We are here at Brian's Battle Axe Bazaar to cross off another item from the list. Gotta wield a adamant battle axe. Only 4,160 coins. We got that easy. Holy bots. Sheesh. There it is. Equipped. Another luxurious task completed. In our travels exploring the chunk, we came across Redbeard Frank here, who actually has a quest for us to start called Pirate's Treasure. He wants us to bring a bottle of rum from Karamja. The interesting part is they don't let you take it off, so you have to smuggle it off if you've never done the quest. And our job is to figure out how to get it off. The implication for our account is that this is Karamja over here. We actually already have like the dock area unlocked, but when we go to unlock our next chunk, we will actually be able to add this chunk to the list of available chunks to roll, because we can now actually take this boat over. Doubt there's anything for us to do just on the dock here. We'll go check that out later. But that is a neat little thingy for us. Goodbye, faithful steel scimitar. Thanks for the probably 7,000 hobgoblin kills that you helped us get. We are moving on to the adamant battle axe now, though. And we're gonna get right into the fishing grind now that we have a net. So here I am getting my first inventory of fish, and I noticed my experience bar was partially full, so I looked at my fishing level and realized that I'm already level 15, all from the Evil Bob random event, which is the fishing level required to catch anchovies, and indeed we have already caught some anchovies. So accidentally completed a chunk task before I even knew it existed, and got level 16 for good measure. Yeah, so that's kind of funny. First level on the way to 55, level 49 cooking. Members can do cool stuff that we can't. Still kind of theory crafting what the best method is going to be to get to 55, but just knocking out a free level while I have the chance. Absolutely huge realization here. There is a bank deposit box here, which means I may not have access to a bank yet, but I can chuck anything I want in here, and we should have access to a bank in the near future up here in Falador. Could even be the next chunk. So all the food that I have to cook and anything extra that I don't want to go to waste, I chuck in here, and we'll get to use it again later. Fire runes obtained, which means I can high alch this gold bar for 56 magic. This is the Remington General Store. This is the Remington General Store on bots. Any questions? Just baking some stews and we got level 50. We can now cook chocolate cake, which we could actually do. Imps are our only source of eggs, which is really frustrating. Otherwise I'd probably be making cakes right now. So we may or may not do that just for fun. But 5 more levels to go until we can cook an anchovy pizza. So if you take a look at the inventory here, we have been slowly emptying it as we work on our cooking grind, which we're about to hit level 51. We've been holding on to this beginner clue scroll for a long time, but once I use up the last of these runes, if I also get rid of the beginner clue scroll, I'll have room for 1 more stew per trip. So worth the time save I think that we'll have, and then I might start doing pizzas too, which is going to take even more inventory spots. So we are going to shoot our shot and hope that this is a one-step completion, which is only a 10% chance, sadly. I'm pretty sure I just made that number up on the spot, but as you can see from this screenshot, with only 1 out of 37 steps possible with my current chunks, I'm actually sitting at 0.3% instead of 10% to actually get a one-step casket. Just wanted to clarify that now because it will come up again later. If we were on step 2, we would have 45% chance to complete, and clue juggling is probably in the cards in the future, but I'd like to take a break from hobgoblins for obvious reasons, because we just finished killing 13 or 14,000. So yeah, we're just gonna see what happens. If we get lucky, great. If we don't, no worries, we will get more clue scrolls later. 10% chance. What do we got here? New clue. I guess there is an even smaller chance that it could be the exact same clue back to back. Very unlikely. Southwest Varrock. Yeah, no luck there. Wasn't really expecting it. Would have been nice, but not gonna break my heart, and we will try again later. 51 cooking. 52 cooking. 53 cooking. We got levels coming in hot. 54 cooking. 1 more to go. Big old moment here. We just picked up our last potato to make our last batch of stew. That is assuming we don't burn an unmathematically feasible amount of them. But yeah, this grind really wasn't too bad. The method that I took was buying potatoes from the store, getting rat meat from the spawn right here, the 2 spawns, and then running over here, buying the bowls, cooking, getting rat meat, dropping off everything in the bank deposit, buying potatoes and starting over. And I just used Water Blast that whole time. I bought, I believe, 1,000 of everything when I first started. 1,000 of all the runes. So yeah, I used just about all of them. That was the amount I needed. And we are only 2,500 XP off of 57 magic. So that's good stuff. Didn't quite get us a level, but we had just started 56 when I started this, so it's honestly really close to a full level just from water blasting. So that was a good use of time and helped me get the magic level up a little bit and check off one of the chunk tasks, level 55 cooking, because we can now cook anchovy pizzas. We still have to actually cook one, so we'll do that next, but obviously the hard part is grinding out these levels, and that is done now. And I didn't count, but I probably have banked close to 500 stews would be my guess. We won't find out until we unlock a bank. They heal 12 HP each, which is not bad at all. So whenever we do get a hold of them, most likely when we unlock this Falador chunk, we'll have access to this bank here. Unless we somehow get access to a brown apron before this chunk. I don't think that's going to happen, but I guess it is possible. So yeah. Next clip. Well, that's not a good shot at all. Next clip will probably be me cooking that anchovy pizza that we can now make with level 55. And then we will call that chunk task complete with 1 left to go, which would be 3, basically 2 more levels of magic. So I need to do a little bit of theory crafting there and decide what is going to be the cheapest and most effective way for me to grind out 2 more magic levels. Well, that's easier than I thought. I assumed we could fail cooking these, but looks like you cook the pizzas and the anchovies separate, so that's pretty sweet. So there it is, 6 anchovy pizzas baked. That didn't take too long. It's a nice marker to have. This will give us good access to food when we have future combat grinds. So something handy to get out of the way. Something that I had been keeping my eye on was the jewelry store over here. There are some amulets that we have the magic level to enchant. They're not chunk tasks necessarily because they are not in stock by default, but players can sell them, and since my account is not technically an Ultimate Ironman, I can purchase them, and I figured why not take advantage of that. These shops do not usually have them in stock, but I world hopped every once in a while and would just log in and check, and eventually I found this one. So now I need to go grab some runes and I'll have myself an amulet of magic for the rest of this magic grind. It always feels good to get a gear upgrade on the account. That is the amulet of magic acquired. That was the last chunk requirement. Well, the level we need to complete the last chunk requirement, I should say. Because we can now cast Fire Blast. So we're gonna head over to Betty's Magic Emporium and slap on our magic gear along the way. Grab some death runes. And where else would we go to cast this Death Blast except for hobgoblins? I mean, come on guys, it's just obvious. And here it is. The casting of Fire Blast. Who wants it? This guy looks like he wants it. What are we gonna hit? A 1. Epic. A 6. What if we... Oh, wow, we stabbed him. A 9, that's better. It'd be kind of funny if we couldn't even get the kill with the 10 death runes. But we did! Casted Fire Blast with level 59 magic to complete the Port Sarim chunk. Really useful chunk. Got to finish our first quest, got to start another one. We will actually be able to use, where is it? This boat to get to this dock over here, which means this chunk on Karamja is actually available to be unlocked next, which is cool. Along with the Asgardian Ice Dungeon, which you guys are well familiar with at this point, and Southern Falador Farm, and Falador itself. Those will be the next chunks that we can unlock. If anyone was wondering why this one hasn't been available, if you see this white line here, this is a fence, and this is a members only area starting right here. So can't get up into that area just yet. But with that, we've completed another chunk. Pretty exciting stuff. If for some reason we were to get 2 and then this mining chunk, I'd love to at least have this first, but ideally Falador. But enough talking, it is time to see what chunk we are moving to next. No Southern Falador farm, please. Not interested. The Asgardian Ice Dungeon, alright. Like I said, not too sad about that one. 29 tasks. They are all best in slot and drop. Best in slot, drop, and kill NPC tasks. Nothing crazy here. Looks like we would have a Mithril Mace as our best in slot weapon. What is that best in slot for? Mithril Mace would be best for attack. Or melee. That would be better than the Adamant Battle Axe. Interesting. Must have a higher attack rate. And it looks like ranged shield, I need the Mithril Square Shield, and then ranged or tank and melee, I need the Black Kite Shield. So I'm gonna have to get those drops anyway. And yeah, there is the full list of things we need to acquire. I think some things are already checked off this list because I have acquired them from other monsters, and I am not required to get the same drop from multiple different monsters, if that makes sense. So, for example, because the Hobgoblins dropped nature runes, and there's another NPC in here that drops nature runes, but it's not on this list because I already have a nature rune drop acquired. So, yeah, all right. Let's go see what there is to find in the Asgardian Ice Dungeon. And I guess we have this jail too. Welcome, friends, to the Asgardian Ice Dungeon. In free-to-play, there are only 10 NPCs above the level 50 that are not bosses, and this forgotten, creepy little dungeon happens to be home to 2 of them. Say hello to my toughest drop tables yet, the Ice Warrior and the Ice Giant. The Hobgoblin, which you're all well familiar with thanks to this series, has a max hit of 3. The Ice Warrior and the Ice Giant have a max hit of 6 and 7, respectively. And when your best in slot gear looks like this, it's safe to say they're going to be hitting consistently. On the bright side, their drop tables aren't too ludicrous, and I have a better source of food after unlocking Port Sarah in the last chunk. Before we dive right down into the dungeon, let's do some exploring of the overworld and go over the chunk tasks. We got our finest gear on to come unlock this chunk that we've been staring at for a very long time now. Forgot kind of that we have access to this jail now. I don't believe there's really anything for us to do in here. Hey, it's future me here to confirm what past me was suspecting. It is true, there is nothing useful to do in this jail. I went around and talked to every NPC and I explored every floor, and the only thing I came across was this amusing conversation dialogue.
Halt. Who goes there? I'm F2 Chunk Flip the Mighty. Mighty? You look like another of those silly adventurers who thinks they're the bee's knees just because they've done a few quests. Well, it sounds better than sitting on the rooftop all day looking at trees. I'll have you know it's a very important job guarding this jail. If anyone comes sneaking in here to mess around with the prisoners, the lads downstairs will make mincemeat of them, and I'll be here to pick them off if they try to escape. You mean people aren't meant to be able to shoot the prisoners in the cells? Yes, that's right. Okay. It's been nice talking to you.
Honestly, whoever wrote this dialogue at Jagex needs to get a raise. This was grade A entertainment. As far as chunk tasks are concerned, there are 3 main ones for best in slot. We need to get a hold of the Black Kite Shield, Mithril Square Shield, and the Mithril Mace. For getting every unique drop and killing every monster, there are 26 other tasks. We'll just look at those later on the chunk picker. And finally, welcome to the Asgardian Ice Dungeon. There are 4 or 5 different NPCs down here. I'll go ahead and put their drop tables on the screen now. We have these muggers, pirates. I believe there are more hobgoblins. Yep, there's one. And then down here we have ice warriors and ice giants somewhere. Oh, these are still hostile to me. That's fun. And there's this blurite ore. I'll have to see what level you have to be to mine that. I probably have to do that. And you can't go in there without agility, which is a member skill, so we don't have access to that. What is this tunnel? Oh, it's another agility tunnel. Be a member. Well, help me get to the Grand Exchange. So yeah, this is where I'll be spending the majority of my time for this chunk. And we do get access to a few useful items down here and some better drop rates. So all things considered, good. And if you thought we were going to start off this chunk doing anything other than killing hobgoblins, well, you've not been paying attention. It's all I like to do. No, just kidding. We don't even have to kill one. I just thought that would be a funny joke. We are going to go over to the Ice Warriors. They drop the Mithril Mace at a rate of 1 and 128. But the Mithril Mace attacks once every 4 ticks compared to the Adamant Battle Axe, which attacks once every 6 ticks. So it will be a huge DPS upgrade for us to get the... Wow, this dude is shredding me. Yeah, it'll be a pretty big DPS upgrade for me to get the Mithril Mace, so I'm going to try and bust this out first to make the rest of these grinds a little quicker. Let's see what our first one yields us. I feel like I might actually need to be praying against melee with these guys. I didn't realize they were going to shred so hard. We can hit really hard, but yeah, attack rate is just so slow, which is what we're trying to boost by getting the Mithril Mace. I cannot get this timing down. Keep being late. Come on, dude, we're on accurate. You gotta hit better than this. He must have pretty good defensive stats. I didn't take a look at that, but he is pretty resistant to our hits here. But we do knock him out eventually for 5 whole coins. Holy crap. What a tremendous drop. That was not worth it at all. So, let's get to it, see what we can get. For those of you who may have thought it was a waste of time burying all those hobgoblin bones, this is exactly why I did it, because Protect from Melee is coming in handy right now. Oh snap! There it is, the Mithril Mace. Let's grab this thing and run away so I don't get shredded unnecessarily. Look at this bad upgrade. Just got our handy Mithril Mace from the Ice Warriors and took on a few Ice Giants finally. So this won't get us a prayer level, but it is the first big bones buried on the account. We are going to go ahead and high alch the Addy Battle Axe. You get a little bit more gold than selling it, and the Mithril Mace is off to a good start, and that's what we're going to use against the Ice Giants. So goodbye, Addy Battle Axe. Obviously, we can always just buy it again if we need it. Absolute banger of a Ice Giant run here. We are only at KC 26, and we just got Addy Arrows, Death Runes, Black Kite Shield, and Mithril Square Shield, and Mithril Ore, all in the same run. I believe the Mithril Square Shield is actually a gear... Sorry. The Black Square Shield is actually a gear upgrade for us. I'm not sure what really the difference is. It looks like Square Shields give you magic and range, and then a little bit of melee, and the Kite Shield here gives you all melee, which is what we're up against right now. So looks like the Kite Shield, it will be a little bit better for us. Let's look. What Having trouble remembering what Ice Giant's attack method is. It looks like they are slash. So if we compare these, we're sitting at 80 plus 87 right now, plus 87 on the Mithril Square Shield. So yeah, this is a 9-point upgrade for us, which is sweet. Either way, I think the black looks cooler, and don't see any use for magic or range defense for a while. So we're gonna stick with this for now. I'm sure we'll get another Mithril Square Shield, although that's a tough drop rate, 1 in 128. So maybe I'll hang on to that because, yeah, we're quickly checking off the list here, so we might get really lucky at Ice Giants and not have to kill too many, which would be great. Although, I do love burying the big bones, 15 prayer XP per, just feels good. Oh, hey there. And they actually do have some decent coin drops as well, so we're up to a 6k cash stack again. Let's see what this dude wants to give us. If you want to give me a gold bar, I will very happily alch it. So, nope, you got a gold necklace, and that's probably not worth alching. 270 actually, you know what? Yep, we're gonna do it. So a little bit more cash in the pocket. Yeah, coming along nicely, feeling good about this grind, enjoying it. I'm actually gonna go over right now before I forget, and we are gonna finally pick up that bow because I thought of the perfect way to start range training. Since I am coming out of the dungeon, that sounds super fun. Coming out of the dungeon and short bow, long bow, we'll take the shorty. And let's wield that and take everything off, because I'm sure this all has negative effects. So yeah, plus 14 range. Yeah, coming out of the dungeon, instead of running up to cows, I am actually just refueling here on the giant rats because it's easier. So this would be a good way to get the range training started. It's not going to get us anywhere crazy, but why not get it started since we did all that lamping? Might as well try to get our first couple levels out of the way. And yeah, if you can see in the background here, we have this tantalizing banana that is one of the 1 out of 128 chance drops that we have to get from the Ice Giants in the Asgardian Ice Dungeon, and there's just one sitting over there, but we can't get into that room. It's locked behind a quest, so we'll have to earn it. There it is, ranged level 6. Just a little fast forwarding, and there we are. Forgot, for some reason in my mind, that was going to be level 2. Forgot that we did the lamping to get to the oak short bow, and probably the reason we're not just splashing 500 times in a row. So yeah, this will be a nice way to accumulate some somewhat passive range XP while we do the rest of our grinds. Level incoming, right off the bat, 56 cooking. Gotta keep myself alive down in this dangerous dungeon, and there's no better way to do it than eating rat meat. The trickiest part of this whole grind is dodging the ice warriors because they are aggroed on me, which is very unfortunate. I'm trying to get the ice giants isolated, and it can be kind of tricky. Gotta kind of kite them around these rocks, but there's so many of them, it can be really hard to get the ice giants one-on-one. But I at least get a level out of it. It popped up quickly and is gone, but that was level 68 attack. Pretty beastly. As you can see here, I am at the goblin spawn. They're all swarming around, and the reason we are here is for the beginner clue scroll. It is a side goal of mine to open up one in the near future. Right now, the only step that we can complete is the one in Port Sarim in the axe shop. But there are a couple other steps, I believe, that we can complete in Falador, so only one chunk away. So if I can't get one with just these chunks, then I think I'll make it my goal to complete at least one when I do get access to the Falador chunk. Partially just to say that I did it, and also partially because there's a lot of rewards that would be really beneficial for us right now, specifically any of the magic staffs, which I don't see us getting access to by any other means in the near future. And then also there's the full black gear drop table, so depending on when we get it, we could get a pretty big gear upgrade for the account. Specifically, obviously, helmet and legs. I think we are set on weapon and shield for now, and chestplate. So yeah, here's the first one I'm getting. Let's see if it happens to be the one nearby. Of course not. I want to take time to thank you all again for another huge month in the channel's history. I genuinely appreciate each and every one of you, and if you've been watching along and you haven't subscribed yet, please take the time to go ahead and hit that button. But that's enough chit chat, let's start making some real progress. Just minding my own business, killing ice giants. We are at kill count 260. Woo! Officially over double the drop rate for this stupid banana, the least useful drop on the table. That's right, friends. We are still in the Asgardian Ice Dungeon hunting bananas. The least useful drop ever. But we just have to get it to complete the drop table, as you know. If you look at the loot tracker here, we are at kill 333, so coming up on 3 times dry. For perspective, the drop table that I need to hit for the banana only has 3 items on it, and that is mithril ore, jug of wine, and a banana. And as you can see, I have 4 jugs of wine and mithril ore. It's just the banana that's being difficult. Actually just got 2 jugs of wine in this trip alone, which is frustrating and nice at the same time because they heal 11 hit points, so it extends my trip. Don't have to deal with the aggression timer for a little bit longer, but it's obviously frustrating because that could have been a banana and then we'd be done. And yeah, starting to get over this. But for now, I will be here slapping these ice giants and working our way towards 70 attack. Let's hope that there's not another video coming up soon talking about how I'm 3 times dry. Let's go! We got the banana! Woo! 358, so close to 3 times dry. Let's pick this thing up. Woo! 1 more kill for good measure. It is about freaking time. Just wanted to highlight this clip real quick. I had skipped over it during the montage, but I talk about how I've been hunting beginner clue scrolls, and so far I've had a chance at turning 2 of them in. With my current chunks, that only gives me a 0.3% chance of actually getting a casket, but it's something I want to do, so I've been chasing it, and unfortunately this is another fail. You may ask yourself, why are we... Okay. Alright, bro. Gonna ruin the clip like that? I see. Can you please move? Please. Thank you. You may ask yourself why we're standing here creeping in this window, and it is because our last task is to murder the rude person who actually just ruined our clip, the Black Knight. He is in the Port Sarim jail here, which I haven't shown you up until this point because there is nothing new for us here, but it is a somewhat viable way to train magic, is to come here and kill these guys that are locked up in the cells because they can't attack back. And obviously, you know, we have to kill one of every NPC in our chunks to complete all of our goals. So we will have to take down one of these guys with magic or ranged. They are weak to magic, so we're going to go that route. Let's throw the magic gear on. Take the melee gear off, and that should be enough. We'll use Fire Blast because we can, and we have the runes. What is that? You can't reach that. What do you mean you can't reach that? Well, you're gonna have to be able to reach it, my friend. There we go. Don't know what that's all about. But lucky for us, I guess because he's locked up in this jail here, he just has one item on the drop table. It's 100% bone drop. And I guess I've never thought about this. If he had actually a full drop table, I guess we'd have to get law runes and telegrab all of these things. But lucky for us, we don't have to do that. The mugger's already... There's another mugger outside of the jail. Or excuse me, the muggers. We finished their drop table in the Asgardian Ice Dungeon. Goblins, obviously that was episode 1. Pirates also in the dungeon, and then also thieves are outside here too. So we just had to get the one, and that is the Asgardian Ice Dungeon chunk done. Pretty epic chunk, if I'm honest. The banana was ridiculous, took 359 KC for us to get, even though it is a 1 and 128 drop, so it went pretty dry there. But as you can see, we hit everything else pretty nicely, and we made a decent bit of cash along the way because each of these sells for almost 1,000, same as these, and these Addy arrows were worth 6k. So yeah, a little bit of money in the bank. That kept the death rune count up, got the cash stack over 10k. And we are leaving here with a little bit of a gear upgrade. Obviously, we had all this magic equipment, but the Mithril Mace is the new best in slot. The Black Kite Shield is also a new best in slot. So we're a little more beefy now and ready to go. Still need to upgrade these legs and this helmet. Probably not going to happen in the next chunk, but it'll be on the list. And last but not least, we're gonna eat this stupid banana that caused us all this heartache. I want everyone to watch this. That's right, banana. I hunted for you for way too long just to eat you and gain 0 health because I was already full. Yeah, just out of spite, we ate it. Also, leaving with the upgraded Willow Longbow because we got ourselves to 20 ranged, so a little bit of a DPS upgrade for our ranged. And full of food, decent amount of runes, decent amount of money, and you know the drill. The next thing to do is to roll a new chunk. So I will see you at the chunk bank. Let's see what this roll has in store for us. Musa Point. Alright, we are going to have to use the boat to get on down to Musa Point, and mostly we will be spending our time here catching fish on the dock. I know you could start with lobsters there, which I feel like is level 40 if I remember correctly, so we're going to have to get about 15 to 20 levels before we can even bother going over there. And we have to kill a snake, and we'll double check that this general store or this bar doesn't have anything new for us, but I don't believe it's anything exciting. So, yeah, we'll take it. It's not Southern Felidor Farm, so it's a win in my book, and it will also allow us to add, what is this chunk called? Karamja Volcano to our next chunk roll, which, just looking at that list real quickly, I saw some interesting things. So let's get into the game and see what we have. Gonna go ahead and take the boat over to Karamja for the first time. It costs 30 coins, but we have a decent cash deck at this point, so we can do that plenty of times before we start to run out of money. There are 3 tasks that this chunk provides us with. The first one is super easy, and it's one of the first things I do when stepping onto the island. It is to kill a snake. They're all over the jungle, so I think I just one-shot one and it's over. The second task is to do up to step 3 of Pirate's Treasure. Also pretty simple. Gotta smuggle some rum off of the island in the banana crate. Pretty straightforward. I'm sure most of you have done this quest before. And the last one is the biggest one, but it is also the most AFK grind I've had to do yet on this account, and it is to get level 50 fishing so that we can catch a raw swordfish. I already have the cooking level required to cook the swordfish, otherwise that would be another task, which I'll do anyway because why not? But no grind as far as the cooking level is concerned. So, checked those 2 things off the list in the background fairly quickly and decided to get started on the fishing grind right away. And here is the first level. Level 23 fishing. We are flying through this list and it feels good. This is me for the next while. We are a fisherman. Going to get ourselves up to level 40 where we can catch lobsters using a pot, and then we'll head over to Karamja and use that spot. This one is just a little bit more convenient for now because it's right next to the fishing store, and I have no interest in keeping any of the fish that I catch on the way to 40, so I'll just be selling them all to get a little bit of cash on the way, and then if I run out of bait, we can just buy it. Now that you know the plan, there really isn't much else to do. If you've seen one fishing grind, you've seen them all. So much like I said back in episode 2, there's only one way to see this through. And there you go, folks. 50 fishing to catch a raw swordfish completed. Pretty sweet because swordfish are, if not the best, one of the best free-to-play foods available. So from here on out, whatever grinds I get myself into where I need food, I will have access to a pretty good one. And the clip you're seeing now is just a little bit back in time. I skipped over it in the montage because it didn't make sense, but I didn't want to leave it out of the video. Got myself a clue scroll here, and it actually happens to be the one step that we can complete. So, obviously, I thought I'd go check it out. So here we are with Brian at the famous Port Sarim Battle Axe Shop. Getting this clue scroll from fishing was insanely lucky already, just to get a beginner clue scroll at all. And then also for it to actually be the one step that we can actually complete. The odds of this are insane. I didn't even think I'd be having a chance at another casket, but here we are. We get to roll the dice with Brian here one more time. 10% chance of a casket. Can we get lucky this time? Man, this would be so epic. Do it to me, Brian. Oh my lord! I'm gonna be honest, I had absolutely zero faith that this was gonna be a casket, but holy shit, we did it. Alright, now we gotta open the thing. And there are some goodies in here that could really help the account, and there is also some complete and utter junk. So, hold your breath for me, folks. We're gonna hit this button and see what the reward from the very first beginner casket on the account is, with the insane RNG to even get to this point. Can we spike another one? Help me out, 93 Jadengu. Okay. Technically, it's not the worst. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Well, you know, it would have been... It's already crazy to even get to this point and complete one. We got something that's alchable, and something we can sell, and runes are always helpful. So, you know, for being completely spoon-fed that casket, who am I to complain? Thanks, Jagex. Quick little update before we move on to the chunk picker. Just fill in the inventory with swordfish, trying to get a full inventory, and then we will go cook up as many as we can. We'll probably burn a good bit, but we have a high enough cooking level that we should get a few out of it. Just taking a look at the stats, we hit total level 729, getting really close to 750 from free-to-play, which is a pretty big milestone and opens up those new worlds. Time played is 11 days and 11 hours. So these last couple chunks haven't taken too long in comparison to the smithing grind that we had to do. And the collection log is sitting at 16 out of 100, nope, 1,047. 1,477, and we are really close to finishing the random events. Just need 5 more. Obviously the stale baguette is tough, might not get that one for a long time, but I think we'll get it eventually because we're putting some time in on this account. So yeah, that's where we are sitting at. Didn't change any combat stats, so... Oh, we also have one completed clue casket, beginner clue casket, so that was a huge achievement for the limitations of this account. And while I'm sure you're all completely satiated with that riveting fishing montage, it did feel like the episode would be a bit too short if I didn't put some more content in here, so we're going to move straight back to the chunk picker. As you can see, down in the bottom right, it was only 5 days ago that I rolled a chunk, so that's how long of in real life time it took me to get that 50 fishing. And the other stuff I did probably within the first 10 minutes. It really was just busting out the fishing levels. With that being said, let's hop over to the chunk rolling clip, go over the new chunk that is available, and then get right into the next roll. Here we are with all 3 out of 3 active tasks complete for the Musa Point chunk. It didn't have a whole lot in it. We knew it would not be too bad, but it did take a good bit of time to get those fishing levels, and that is actually a really big milestone to be able to catch those swordfish. That is a really great food source for us. So combat grinds coming up will be a lot easier. Obviously it's a little bit of a trek, you gotta do the whole boat thing, so it's not super ideal, I'd say, until we get a bank and then we can just get them from the bank. But as you'll see in a moment, it might actually be pretty relevant here soon. And the reason is, we'll start backwards this time so that we can go straight into that point, is this new chunk here that we can unlock, the Karamja Volcano. There is not much to it, kind of like the Musa Point chunk on the surface, but it does actually have a dungeon as well. And inside of that dungeon, they're not listed here, which is weird. On the surface, there's just imps, monkeys, scorpions, and snakes. I don't think there would be... We need to take a quick break from the regularly scheduled chunk chat because I forgot to mention that with the unlock of the last chunk, Musa Point, I unlocked 2 music tracks, the first being Jungle Island and the second being Sea Shanty, which in my opinion is superior to Sea Shanty 2. Not just a hot take, I really do feel that way, and gonna put that track on right now in the background. Literally anything to do on the surface, but inside this dungeon there is deadly red spiders. Boom. They're easy, super easy drop table. There is lesser demons, and those ones are pretty interesting. And then there's also skeletons. The reason that lesser demons are interesting is because they hold some gear upgrades for us. You can see from this we would need to grab a rune med helm, so our first piece of rune gear, a steel full helm, which if we get that first is actually still a gear upgrade for us. Steel scimitar, which I'm not sure, that might be more of a lateral move from the mace, but I'll have to look into that. So yeah, I guess it's just the rune med helm that's the gear upgrade for us. But yeah, I think this would be just fun to have, and to get the last of the Karamja chunks for now would be cool. That being said, everything is green logged. I would like to keep playing and I don't have anything else left to do, so we're gonna roll a chunk. Let's hope for 2 or 3, not 1. Let's see what we get. Oh no. No. Oh no. Don't take me there. Oh boy. So this chunk is super easy, as you're gonna see. Have to start Corsair's Curse, kill a chicken, a duck, and a highwayman with no hood. This is gonna take me literally 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and we are going to be right back at the chunk picker. We will have some new chunks to add to the list though, unfortunately, including this one. Do that now. Oh, look, you know what, actually? We can unlock this chunk as well. Because we can, it looks like we can skirt around this fence. And then we could just walk down and into it, so we wouldn't have to go in it diagonally. I'm glad I noticed that. I almost missed that. Gotta get them in order, because, you know. So 5 potential chunks. We'll go over what these 2 chunks would offer after we've busted out this stuff. And yeah, we'll be back shortly. Here we are at the border of our new chunk, the Falador Farm. Honestly, we are kind of looking like a Chad these days. black kite shield, adamant mace, mithril, adamant mace? Adamant chain body, and mithril mace. Still could use some gear upgrades on the legs and the arms, but we also got ourselves the amulet of strength. And look at the inventory. We are full of swordfish. This is almost free to play peak efficiency right here. Not like this guy. We're not that cool yet, but you know, we're on the way there. So let's get this chunk unlocked and do the few silly things we have to do. We do have to start the quest Corsair Curse, which we do by talking to this guy. I'll spare you the dialogue here, but it is worth noting that starting this quest actually gives us the ability to use the boat on the other side of our chunk, outside of Remington, which takes you down to Corsair Cove. So this will unlock another option for us to open a new chunk with our next roll. Interesting little development. That's actually more action than I thought this chunk would provide. It should actually give us the ability to roll a new chunk very soon. There's the chicken. They have a 1 and 4 drop rate on the feathers. We got them on try number 1. Boom. 2 birds with 1 kill. And now we need to find a duck. Where are the ducks at? I guess over here by this pond. It seems like a place where a duck would be. There you are. Am I gonna have to range that? And how do I even get over there? Figure out a way for me, guy. Oh, here we can go ahead. I am in bozo mode. Honestly, still just a little bit shocked and sad that we're even in this chunk at all. This is not where I wanted to be. Oh, this way, sheesh. Like a maze around here. But we're gonna persevere. Oh, pigs that you can't actually kill. Oh, dog. That's the dog. Oh, good doggy. And let's get ourselves a duck, Casey. Don't run away, duck. You're gonna make me bow this, aren't you? Damn it. I don't have any runes. Or a bow. Look, this one's right there. Just whack him. Oh, fine. Sheesh, gonna make me go all the way down and buy a bow. And we'll see if we can do it from here. We got lots of things to find out. Boom! Now I'm gonna get the wrong duck. Oh, we got it. Oh, don't you dare. Oh, come on. Get out of the way, other duck. Woo! 5 exactly. That was close. That would have been kind of embarrassing. But it's done. We can put all our stuff back on. And with that task complete, we bring to a close another chunk. While this chunk was as boring as advertised, it did open the door for 4 new chunks, which means in our next roll, there's 4 new options that we could hit for the very first time. So I'm gonna click this button and it may or may not send me to a dark place for a year on this account. Find out with me right now. Whew, South Draenor. Still kind of a rough chunk for the smithing grind that we're gonna have to do. We gotta bust out 8 levels of smithing now. I have 100 and something nature runes in my pocket, and we do have a bank here, so a little bit of a silver lining. I can't remember if I had previously banked any nature runes. I don't believe that I would have, but if I did, we'll be able to snag them. We have access to our food now, all of our lobsters, and we'll see what else we've thrown in there. But yeah, 8 levels of smithing, still gonna be a pain, but not near the pain that we could have had. So let's get down and explore our new chunk. Before we get too immersed, I just wanted to take a second to ask you all to hit the like and subscribe button. It helps you stay up to date, and it helps me stay motivated to keep editing these videos. Alright, here it is. The 2 chunks, or 1.5, that are gonna cause us a pretty serious amount of pain. If it wasn't for this little chunk right here, then we wouldn't have even been able to roll this chunk. We would have only been able to roll this one, but because of this just tiny little path, we can sneak it down here. Oh man, what if this tree blocked us? That would be crazy. Hold it. Hold it. Are we there? I think we made it already. Yeah, we're just barely there. This is insane how close these margins are. We are, what? Let's unlock it and count. We are 4 chunks wide right here. So if it wasn't for this one chunk, which Mr. Speak92 happens to also be using, and these 4, if this tree was just right where I'm standing instead, we wouldn't even be able to access this grind. But with the way everything is set up, we can. That's pretty interesting when you consider the kind of grind that we're getting into as a result of those fine margins. Oh, we can talk to the wise old man. That'll be fun. I don't know if that does anything for us, but first things first, I want to get to the bank. This is the very first time that a bank has ever been opened on this account in 11 days and 12 hours. Obviously, for those of you who have been following along, you know it's only been 2 or 3 chunks since we've even had access to the bank drop here on the docks of Port Sarim, but we have been making use of it. We did level, I believe, like 25 all the way to 50 with tunas and lobsters, and cooked and banked a bunch of those. So that'll be mainly what's in here. Also some cosmic runes, and I'm sure I'm forgetting something, honestly. I think I threw a bow in here at one point. So let's see what we got. Oh, look. This is my bank. No one can touch it but me. The bank is used to store items. Yes, yes, yes. Look at this. Oh, there's 14 messages. Yeah, we got it. Oh, yeah, I want more bank space, but not now. Sheesh. Look at this. 25 coins, which means, look, we can deposit all of our coins, and all these nature runes, and this amulet of magic. This is insane. 183 cosmic runes, 503 stews, totally forgot about those. Anchovy pizzas, law runes, meat pizzas, a few various runes, tunas, 400 lobsters, steel plate body, oak longbow, and we just threw those in there, and this chest key, which is for one of the quests. So this is sick to have access to a bank. This chunk comes with a pretty heavy cost, but honestly, the bank might just be worth it in the end. So, gonna do some exploring here shortly and check out all of the features that we have access to. So let's do that. Zoom, 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 zoom. Oh, come on, wall, get out of the way. You get the idea. As I get to work collecting nature runes for the smithing grind, let's talk about the 3 skilling challenges that this chunk provides. First, as previously mentioned, 48 smithing is the big one, which means I will be killing dark wizards for nature runes so we can superheat more iron ore, and that is how we are going to grind this out. Also have to get 30 range to wield a maple short bow, and I already have level 5 strength, but I will need to wield the steel warhammer as I make my way through the smithing tree. But first, this account cannot be stopped. It's gonna keep leveling. We might as well start with level 71 hit points. Feeling healthy. Bringing you all in for a little clip. We are about to get our 100th Dark Wizard kill. Boom, there it is for absolutely nothing. Epic. I just wanted to do this while I was kind of brainstorming how I wanted to tackle the big grind for the chunk, which is the smithing grind. As I mentioned, one of our goals is we have to get all the way up to... Why is that up there? We have to get to level 48 so that we can craft ourselves a steel plate body. For those of you who might not know the leveling system and the way the experience table works in Old School RuneScape, you might be thinking, oh, 8 levels, that's got to be super easy. Actually, they scale. So getting from 1 to 40, like we did, we needed about 37,000 experience. To get from level 40 to 48, we need, I think, 41,000 experience. So just a little bit more. They actually scale so hard as you get higher up in level that level 92 is actually halfway to 99, which is the max level. I don't think we can do Reldo clue steps yet. We need to look into that though. So that probably sounds terrible, and I'll admit that it is, but with our newfound friends here, it is going to be a little bit more bearable. These dudes actually have a pretty sweet drop table for us. Super helpful, pretty much saving the day single-handedly. I'll put it on screen for you now. It is tons and tons of runes, and I'll also pop up the loot tracker from our first 106 kills now. As you can see, the amount of runes that we're getting from these kills is insane, and pretty decent clue scroll drop rate as well. So this is our solution. We've already got 8 nature runes from them. If we were killing hobgoblins, we probably would have only got 4 so far. There are only 2 of them. That's probably the biggest downside. I have their spawn chunks here, not chunks, spawn tile marked there. That's what those yellow circles are. But as you can see, we can one-shot them, which is amazing. And I've been doing this for 108 kills, and I think I've been hit maybe twice. I haven't had to eat a single piece of food yet. We're still at 69 out of 71 health. So I'm not going to have to worry about healing at all, which is honestly a little bit sad with all the food that we have banked. It would be nice to start using some of it, but it's great in a way that it's going to make this grind go 100 times faster. That was one of the big issues with the Hobgoblin grind, was they tore us up pretty good, so we had to go do our silly eat the cabbage, kill the cows, cook the meat, you know, like it was... That made the process take probably twice as long, or even 3 times as long as it needed to. Near the end, we were obviously doing a little better, but their drop rates, yeah, are just not conducive to stacking nature runes. If anyone is wondering about the Black Knight, he's the reason that I have to get 48 smithing, because he drops a steel bar, but it is at a pretty bad rate. Actually, no, it's at a pretty decent rate. 1 in 21, I believe. I'll double check that and throw it on screen for you as well. But the issue is there's only 1 spawn of him. He's right over here. There's just 1, so we'd have to kill 1 and then world hop, which would put a lot of time in between kills. So it would be half as fast, half as slow. It would be a lot slower to even rack up kill count on them, and then also with that drop rate that they have for the steel bars, they drop one 5% of the time. So with that drop rate, we would have to kill probably 26,000 of them to amass enough steel bars to go from 40 to 48. So obviously that's not what we're interested in doing. It's over 4 or 5 times the amount of kills we'll need for Dark Wizards to get the nature runes. The Black Knights also don't drop beginner clue scrolls, which are something that I am very keen on getting a hold of right now, because if we complete enough maybe we will get ourselves a fire staff, and then we won't have to waste all of the fire runes that we're going to get along the way, and we won't have to spend the gold to buy them from the shop over in Port Sarim. And another cool benefit of this chunk is that it actually has two more beginner clue step spots that we can complete. I'm not sure if they... No, actually, I don't think that's a thing. So, yeah, the percentage likelihood that we can complete a clue scroll now has gone up, and with this grind and the recent update to make it so that when you log out, the clue scrolls stay on the ground, we are, I think, in for some clue juggling as soon as we get a step that we can do. So yeah, that's kind of a windy explanation, but I wanted to go through what I have been doing for the last hour or two and how I've been approaching this new grind that we have, looking at all the new options that our chunk has by itself, thinking of those options in conjunction with all of the different things that we have access to our other chunks to make sure that I'm not missing anything and that the grind can be as fast as possible. But I'll keep brainstorming since it's only been a couple hours since I unlocked this chunk to make sure that there's not anything that I'm missing, maybe in a more efficient way. But I am fairly certain that this is going to be the best. Not sure if I mentioned, but the kill count that I will need to get on the wizards to get enough nature runes is probably around 5,000. So, you know, you guys can see how fast this is going. It's not terrible, but it's also not super fast. But again, we will never have to worry about food. The bank is literally right here, so if we ever get full or do need food, we just walk right there and throw everything in. And with the added benefit of the clue scrolls, I really think this is going to be the best way. And being able to one-shot is just nice. Look, 36 earth runes. And other side bonuses, look, from 123 kills, this is how many runes we have. This is not bad. They drop almost every single type of rune that we can even use. So by the end of this, we will have tons of magic XP banked, tons of the ability to train our combat using magic for free. And these talismans, other side note, there's lots of side notes. This is going to be a lengthy one. If we examine these here, these three items, they sell for 1,259, 800, and why did the water rune not work? And 191. So water talismans, not worth it. But these two things, if they actually sell for that much on the GE, we have access to a bank, so we just throw them right here. And then when we go to start flipping and building our cash stack with the 5,000 kills that we'll get here, we'll probably have a decent amount of cash just sitting in the bank from selling this. So all around, I'm pretty excited for this grind. I was a little bit worried about it when I realized that I would need about 26,000 kills on the Black Knights to do it with steel, but then when I thought about it, just stacking nature runes, we already have the magic level, and started to look at the problem from that angle. I found a much more efficient solution, and that's kind of what these kind of accounts are all about. You never give up on the grind of problem solving, and you're making sure that you're always addressing the problem from every possible angle and looking at every possible solution. So we've done it, got ourselves a good old grind here, so let's get to it. On my first smithing run down to the anvil, after getting what should be all of the iron bars that I need, I have about 1,200 of them banked. And I'm going to use this anvil because it's a little bit closer to the bank, which is nice. And after looking around at all my options, I am 41 smithing, right? Yeah. I am going to be making iron chain bodies with all of these. And you may ask why such an obscure item. And the answer is because I have access to range chains, as you remember, from a previous chunk. And if I were to roll the, Western Falador chunk, where I would have to do the huge smithing grind without a furnace, that would mean I would need an absurd amount of fire runes along with the nature runes. So this is my best money maker as of right now. With the shops I have available, I could either sell battle axes or these chain bodies, or I could sell stuff to the general store. I guess maybe I should look into that. That might actually be a better sale. But of the specialty stores I have available, range chains gives the best bang for buck, although it is not anything special. So that would just help me create my cash stack so that I could buy ridiculous amounts of fire runes to go along with the absurd amount of nature runes that I would need to gather. Obviously, this chunk is to be avoided at all costs, but it is possible, and so I sadly do need to prepare for it. Let's get into the smithing grind though. Past me decided to ignore other past me, so here I am smithing iron plate bodies for 44 smithing. Don't ask present me why. This clip was a long time ago and I do not remember. Big old 45 smithing coming in. Average young level 46 smithing. Generic level 47 smithing. After all that hard work, it is time to check off the hardest and final task that I have for this chunk by making one more set of these iron plate bodies, and that will bring me to, yep, you guessed it, 48 smithing, all with no furnace, just using fire runes that I got from the Dark Wizards and nature runes that I got from the Dark Wizards. And I also bought some of the fire runes because I do have a shop. But there is the steel plate body that I can now make. And that is another chunk task complete. The account is looking sweet. Before I go ahead and craft the few best in slot items I need, let's take a look at the loot tracker. It took me 291 Black Knight kills to get the steel bars to make the gear that I need. You can see them in the inventory now. And then it took me 4,538 Dark Wizards to get the nature runes that I needed to get myself up to that 48 smithing so that we can do this. Let's open up this menu. Make sure we're just making one of everything so we don't waste our steel bars. And got to get the med helm here. That is one item off the list. Jumping back in, just one again of the plate legs. This is an item that I hadn't had access to until now. And then also got to grab a full helm. And then of course, getting ourselves up to level 5 strength, which we obviously had. We have to be able to wield that warhammer. And then here is the big one, the plate body. And that gives us our current best in slot. Although I don't believe the plate body is a part of that, just the helmet and the legs, because obviously the adamant chain body is just slightly better. So there it is. I've wielded the steel warhammer, wielded these weird piece of ornate armor that I had to dig up. And there is some more things for me to use. Not sure how much any of this will come in handy other than the steel helm and the plate legs, because that is my best in slot right there. But it's always good to get an upgrade, so I'm going to call it a good chunk. The South Draenor chunk provided me 36 tasks. I only highlighted a few of them for the video because the rest of them were very straightforward, and so I didn't feel like they were really worth emphasizing, but I will put them on screen now just so you know what the other tasks I got myself into were. All they were some various items that I could get from new monsters that I have access to, being the zombie, black knight, and skeleton. Here's the list of some of the harder ones. When I say some of the harder ones, it is the very common drop rate that I deal with of 1 and 128. So nothing too crazy here, and as you can see, none of this is very useful. With all that out of the way, you are now up to speed on the account's progress, which leaves us nothing to do but celebrate, thank you for following along, and say farewell until the next episode. Well, let's see what happens. Come on, Falador. The ham hideout. Oh, that is so rude. I hate that. Ham hideout. What do we got here? 7 drops that I have to get. Nope, excuse me, 3 drops. Bronze axe, grapes, red cape. And then I just have to kill a giant spider, a goblin, a spider, and a unicorn. But as I just mentioned in the overview, this causes other issues. Means now next time when we roll, these chunks are available, which is cool. We could get all the way over to Lumbridge. We could also now roll another account ending chunk. Lumbridge does have a furnace though, now that I am thinking out loud and looking at the map. So in a way, I guess this evens out because I now have 2 account ending chunks, and I now have access to 2 furnaces in the next roll. So if you include that one down there, that's easy to forget about. That means we have 8 total possible chunks, 2 of which end the account, and 2 of which open the door for some pretty ridiculous grind, but at least makes it doable. So I know I don't usually just jump in and start talking about the next chunk roll, but this one is not going to take long, and we will be back at this screen before you know it, holding our breath and rolling again. For now though, let's take care of one thing at a time. Let's get down to the ham hideout chunk and slay a few monsters, and I will be back at this screen shortly. We are unlocking a chunk. We are getting level 70 defense. We have acquired a red cape, grapes, and a bronze axe. We are going full Voldemort and murdering an innocent unicorn. We are ridding Lumbridge of some of its nasty spiders. We are rolling another chunk. Wish me luck. Corsair Cove. Ah, man, it's just gonna make me keep sweating this. Not gonna give me a furnace. Not gonna help out with that impending grind. And the only thing for me to do, as you can see here, is complete this quest step. So I will be seeing you real shortly again. Step 2 was literally just to travel here and talk to a few NPCs, so I did. So we'll just cover quickly chunk number 8 now. Is another combat grind because there are shamans here. Would be able to get my first rune weapon and rune armor in the form of rune battle axe and rune full helm. And they also dropped rune med helms. And they have a bunch of ruby drops. Not ruby. Gem drops. Pretty cool drop table. This is some of the end game free to play content. I have access to end game food and I have end game stats. I don't quite have end game gear yet, but we would be able to get some upgrades from chunk number 8. So all in all, I think that would be a pretty fun chunk to get, kind of similar vibes to chunk number 7, get a few gear upgrades and knock off one of the end game free to play monsters drop tables. But there's nothing else to say. We know what all these other chunks are. Let's hit this button and pray for continued good luck and maybe some amazing luck finally. Come on, Falador. Come on, Lumbridge. Everything else is okay except for, what is this even called? West Lumbridge Swamp and East Falador. Ooh, no thank you. I want that to be the last thing I clicked on. Superstitious. Here we go. Oh, yes. Thank goodness. Lumbridge unlocked, the actual game's starting chunk. We get to go to the iconic Lumbridge finally after all these hours. Which reminds me, I should do a time played update right after this. But wow, yes, finally now, as I've mentioned before, chunk number 1 and chunk number 4 have been removed as death chunks. That being said, they do still suck ass. So let's keep that in mind. Chunk 4 is way easier than chunk 1, but it makes the adamant, or the smithing grind reasonable now. We could actually do it, which is really cool. Very thankful that I didn't have to roll one of these death chunks first and make exceptions. Didn't want to do that. And now I don't have to, thanks to some good RNG. Lumbridge. Welcome to this oddly shaped peninsula out here on Corsair Cove for a huge moment for the account. If you remember, I mentioned one side bonus of unlocking Lumbridge, which we have done, is that it gives us access to our first teleport. So, to get to our new chunk, watch this. People who have just started watching RuneScape because of this account, they don't even know about this stuff. I don't even remember how to use it because it's been so long. Home, Lumbridge, teleport. Lumbridge, home, teleport. You get the idea. This one is on a timer. The other teleports take runes. But, wabam! Welcome to the new chunk. Hey, don't be inside of me, man. How's that? What kind of way is that to greet someone? Unlocked 5 new music tracks with this chunk, and they are some bangers. Here is a list on the screen. The obvious highlights being Book of Spells, Autumn Voyage, Dream. I mean, these are just classics. Really happy to be able to add these in the background to my video now that I have them unlocked. First thing I wanted to do is walk down into the basement and get my first leather boots. And I promised a time played update. We are sitting at 13 days and 6 hours. Don't ask me how it can possibly take anyone 13 days and 6 hours in Old School RuneScape to get a pair of leather boots. So far, I think one of the most satisfying things to do on a chunk account has to be to complete quests. And that's because you spend so much time in these chunks looking at the NPCs that you know one day will let you complete that quest, but you just don't have access to what you need yet. With Lumbridge, I got everything I needed to be able to complete X marks the spot. And so here I am talking to Veos, who I've been staring at for a while now. And look, he's letting me complete a quest. Feels pretty great to be able to do this, even though the rewards are nothing great. Speaking of quests, The Lumberage chunk gives me access to quite a bit of quest activity, which is cool, because as I was just saying, I really enjoy being able to complete a quest on a chunk account. So as you saw, we just finished X marks the spot. I am headed over to complete Cook's Assistant now. As you can see, got everything I need in the inventory. And then I will also be able to start Restless Ghost and Rune Mysteries. Those ones obviously aren't too exciting, but like I said, another quest completion, which we're about to get done right here. You know, another quest point on the chunk locked account. It just feels good. You may think I'm shearing sheep in the background for the sheep shear quest, but no, I'm actually collecting wool for my quote-unquote big grind in the Lumberage chunk. But just wanted to check off all of the items on the quest list real quick before we get into that. And I'm going to throw this lamp on that same big grind. And that sarcastically big grind is crafting. I actually only have to get to level 8 to make an unstrung amulet. This lamp is going to give us 300 experience and take us straight to level 4, so halfway there, 4 levels to go. 5 crafting. A full inventory of gold and 2 molds. We're on our way back to Lumberage. Crafty Craft level 6. Crafty Craft level 7. Level 8 has been achieved off camera. Here is me doing the chunk task, which is to craft some unstrung golden amulets. I'll make 4 of them just because I can. And that is the last chunk task complete, which means, as is the theme of this episode, we can go right back to the chunk picker for another roll. This is where things are about to get wild. Look at how many chunks we can now roll. As per my rules, I can now use teleports as a source to get to new chunks, and I can also use the canoe system in Lumberage. I was just waiting until I had a viable way to get back to my current set of chunks, which obviously, if I die, I end up in Lumberage, or if I use the Lumberage teleport, I end up back in Lumberage, so that's what opens up a lot of those along with the canoe system. And since I already have a very high woodcutting level, I had added the wilderness chunk in as a rollable chunk because I thought I could teleport back to Lumberage, and obviously if I get PK'd or die to the moss giants I would have ended up back there, but it turns out you are too deep in the wilderness to use teleports, so I actually end up rolling this chunk in the future and learning that the hard way. So it's here for this roll and maybe the next roll, but it does get fixed eventually. It would take all day to go over the different requirements that each of these chunks has, so instead of doing that, we are just going to move straight on to the chunk roll. It's time to hit the chunk button and see what fate has in store. Are we in for a long grind right now, or are we gonna get some more of these simple chunks like 5, 6, and 7, 12 that really are gonna take another 5 minutes and then we'll be right back at this screen? Who knows? Not even me, but let's find out together. So many options. Okay, North Draenor, that is one of the really boring chunks. 1 task. Woo! Vampire Slayer, go start it. That's easy. We're gonna do that and come right back. It seems like every chunk series has that one episode where you just end up rolling chunks over and over because you keep getting simple chunks or chunks that have nothing to do, and apparently this one is mine. The only new chunk that our last roll unlocked was the Draenor Manor chunk. That would require us to complete Ernest the Chicken and a few other things. Very simple, so let's just get into the roll and see what happens. Just give me Falador already, please. Ah, Varrock Square. Interesting. So we have to make use of our magic level to teleport to this new chunk, and 21 tasks. We have to get level 40 so we can get into the crafting guild, Along with that, we need to buy an adamant sword, some ranged gear. Where are we buying this from? Just obtain them. I believe the armor shop here is what sells them. Mithril plate body. Lots of quests started. Can do even a couple steps of some of them. Oh, this is step 4 of Pirate's Treasure. So we are 1 step away from being able to complete that finally, but we need Falador for that. And there are a few very random drops that we need to get. Bear Fur Ring Mold, Intel Report, and then gathering some ornate items and killing a random NPC. So this one won't take too long, but it is a good bit of work, so let's get into it and get it done. Welcome to the big city of free-to-play of Varrock. It has everything you want, it has everything you need, and we just teleported into it. Almost feels like I'm a normal player now. Welcome to Horvik's Armor Shop. We are going to be selling off our iron plate bodies to stack a little bit of cash which we are going to have to spend in this chunk. These are all best in slot in different ways, so we need to grab those, and there goes 7,000 GP, and we got a few more things to buy. Adamant sword obtained for our new melee best in slot weapon. This is going to make magic, training, and combat just a breeze from here on out. This is a huge upgrade that I hadn't even remembered. Welcome to Varrock's famous Blue Moon Inn, where we have a couple NPCs to take care of in our ridiculous magic setup. Look at this. I'm going to use magic just for fun because we have a fire staff and all these runes just sitting around. There goes Johnny the Beard. And there is the bear fur we need, so check that off the list. The fastest method for me to get to level 40 crafting so that I can get into the crafting guild and complete this chunk is to use gold objects and just craft as many as I can. And on the way, here's level 55 mining. I can now mine mithril ore, although there is none available in my current chunks. You know what they say, if you're gonna get level 55, you might as well get level 56. So I went and did it. As you all will know if you've been following along, the only furnace I have access to is the one here in Lumbridge, which is not an ideal setup. The bank is up on the 3rd story, gotta walk all the way down and around, up to the furnace, stay in there for about a minute, go all the way back up to the 3rd story, rinse and repeat. It is better than hunting nature runes in my opinion, so I am gonna use this, but there's no way to make this grind exciting, so I'll do my best with a montage. pretty cool moment here after all this time on the account. We've spent so close by. We've been farming these cows for ages for their meat. We've had to just ignore this whole building because we didn't have level 40 crafting or a brown apron. But now, look at us go. There's level 40 crafting. There's a brown apron. And we just get to walk on in. Thank you for the welcome. This is mildly useful. Got some gold rock spawns if I ever need to farm gold. This is the best place in free-to-play to do it. We also have first access to silver. And we have some clay, which isn't totally useful to us right now. And the last thing in here that is cool is that somewhere in here there is a tanner. I'm not sure where, honestly. Maybe upstairs. Who's this? Tanner. So we can make... what's the difference between soft and hard leather? Hold on. This is throwing me for a loop. Leather and cowhide. I feel like... I honestly don't know. So we're just gonna guess. I think it's soft. Let's try soft. And then we can use this needle here, yes, and we need to make ourselves leather vambraces. Done. Excuse me, Mr. Tanner, sir. I would also like to have another piece of soft leather because I need to make some leather chaps. Done. And one more time, my good friend, because the last piece of ranging gear I need is the leather cow. So these are all actually decent upgrades for me because they're my first set of ranging gear, which is why I brought the bow. And there's also some free molds here. We will snag this tiara mold because we need to make a tiara as our last thing to check off the list, and we'll grab that one just because we don't have it. So forgot to bring the pickaxe. Gonna run down, grab another pickaxe, mine some silver, teleport to Lumbridge, make that tiara, and then we are done with this chunk. So I'll see you guys shortly. Let's see what we get. Looks like we got the mime gloves added to the collection log. Sure, we'll take them. Oh, also mime legs. Very nice. Double. And I'm here with the air tiara and the air talisman. Gotta make myself the air tiara. And that is my rune crafting requirement for this chunk. There we go. After way too long trying to remember where I got a hold of a pie dish last time, which I still cannot remember, I just went and crafted one since I now can, so that I could pick up the beautifully ornate gloves and boots. These things might actually look cool. A little bit. And with all of those little things out of the way, it is finally time to bring this episode to a close. Between all of the chunk rolling and all of the new tasks and items that I got myself access to throughout this video, it has been a wild ride. It is episodes like these that change chunk accounts forever. Thank you to everyone for watching. I really appreciate you tuning in, all of your likes, comments, and subscriptions, and I will see you in the next episode. But let's not linger anymore. Let's get into the live chunk roll and reaction. The East Lumbridge Swamp. My heart skipped a beat there for just a second. I thought that was the West Lumbridge Swamp. Whew, that was close. That would have been a real pain in the butt. Instead, we find ourselves with 4 chunk tasks, complete a quest, kill a big frog, a frog, and a giant frog. This will be another quick one, and we will find ourselves back on the chunk picker before you know it. I busted out my best ranged equipment and went to take on these frogs. While it's not amazing, this is actually a pretty decent free-to-play training spot, and the giant frogs make up probably the best free-to-play training for prayer, since their hit points are somewhat low and they do drop big bones, and they can be safe spotted. Nice to have an improved prayer training method in the back pocket. I did a quick speed run of Miscellaneous Mysteries. This doesn't open any new content for us, but it does give us a quest point, which, as I've mentioned before, always feels good on a chunk locked account. That chunk does not gain us access to any new chunks, so we're back with the same options minus the one we just rolled. Let's see what's in store for us next. Here we go. The Wizard's Tower, number 12. Oh yeah, I know there's at least one interesting thing here. That is the Lesser Demon that is up in the top of the Wizard's Tower, so we will get our first piece of rune gear finally, in the form of a 1 and 128 drop rune med helm from that Lesser Demon. He also has a mithril chain body, just for fun. Luckily, Lesser Demons don't have coal on their drop table, so we don't have to get level 68 smithing, and we get to dodge that mithril plate body grind for a little bit longer. We'll be able to get the Amulet of Accuracy and complete Imp Catcher and Rune Mysteries. So this is a pretty cool chunk. Allows me to finish off a lot of really great free-to-play end game goals. Little gear upgrade. Like I said, first piece of rune. It's only a med helm, but it's always exciting. And I'll be able to put my rune shop to use because I will probably use magic, although I could go ranged. But yeah, let's get down into this chunk and see what this grind is all about. Two things before we head over to the new chunk. I had a clue scroll, so I wanted to see if I could snag a casket, and I did. Not sure what's wrong with the audio in the clip, but here it is. Cheeky little two-step casket here. Pretty sweet. Let's open it up and see what we got. Oh my lord, the Amulet of Defense T. That is a nasty pull. Shortly after that, I had this wholesome moment that I thought was worth sharing. Last order of business before I make my way down to the Wizard's Tower is to get some cash in the pocket. I would like to buy some runes, some Chaos runes specifically, so that I can use Wind Bolt on the Lesser Demon. As you would expect, as a free-to-play chunk locked account, I have no real good money makers, so I noted up all of the iron plate bodies from the smithing grind and all of the unstrung amulets from the crafting grind. I would then sell 5 iron plate bodies to Horvik, walk down to the general store, sell 5 unstrung amulets, hop worlds, sell amulets, back up to Horvik's, sell plate bodies, rinse and repeat. All in all, I ended up with about 45k to spend on runes, which I know is not a special amount of gold, but for my specific circumstance, it actually was pretty substantial. As always, we must first remove the ominous gray barrier to signify that we have officially unlocked the chunk, and there it is. I'm going to take a quick look around to make sure there's nothing I'm forgetting here, and then I'm going to knock the quests out because I like doing quests on chunk locked accounts, and then we'll tackle the Lesser Demon. In here in the basement of the Wizard's Tower, checking off one more item from the list. We finished Rune Mysteries, super simple quest. Gives us access to the Rune Essence Mine, which doesn't do much for us now. And honestly, just creates pesky grinds in the future, but it's done. quite a bold line here. We just walk up to this wizard Mizgog and we're like, give me a quest. And he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But we're gonna keep being persistent. And it turns out he has a little quest called Imp Catcher, which happens to be one of our chunk tasks. It's a super simple quest. It's so simple. What did he just say? Oh, right. He's confused because I knew that he was going to ask for these beads, so I showed up with them. And look at that. We are going to complete the quest right after we started. I didn't remember there being a cutscene here, so let's see what goes on. Looks like a little magic. Oh. 800 magic XP, the Amulet of Accuracy, and another quest point, putting us up to 6. And completing yet another chunk task. Right after finishing Imp Catcher, we hopped on back over to the Lesser Demon, since that, I believe, is the only thing I really have left to do in this chunk. Complete the drop table. And that should be everything. As part of the drop table here is the Rune Med Helm, which would give me my only skilling task to wear Rune Armor. It would give me the best in slot Rune Med Helm that I need, and I just got the Amulet of Accuracy from finishing that quest. The 2 quests are complete, so yeah, it is just this drop table left. I ran out of Chaos Runes, and I ran out of money to buy Chaos Runes, so for now, I'm gonna work through the Mind Runes that I had saved up in the bank, and use my Law Runes very scarcely, because I don't have a good source of Law or Chaos Runes right now, and I don't have a great money maker, so hopefully these 2,000 Mind Runes will be enough to get me that Rune Med Helm, and I won't have to try to do money making with these chunks, because I cannot imagine that I have anything half decent. I mean, high alching is probably the best thing that I can do, but I don't have a good source of nature runes. I'm not even sure if I have any in the bank. And if I do, it would be such a small amount, and I guess killing like ice warriors for mithril square shields or something, that's like probably my best money maker right now, which is really bad. So hopefully we don't have to resort to money making, and we can just get the Rune Med Helm shortly. But you will know how painful the grind ends up being, because I will put it in the video. So that's all there is to say for now. Let's see how the luck goes. I knew it was going to be today. I could just feel it. And maybe the high kill count helps on the 228th Lesser Demon kill. We finally get the last drop that we need, the Rune Med Helm, and I have 2 Law Runes left. I've been using them sparingly, but almost not sparingly enough. And here comes the last chunk task, and look at that, the first piece of rune equipment for the account. Pretty sweet upgrade. It'll help me obviously for any future combat grinds. And as far as free-to-play goes, I don't think I'll be upgrading this until Obor or Briefofita. And obviously I can't do Dragon Slayer quite yet. We are getting relatively close to having the chunks needed, but still probably a good bit off that. And I think there actually is a quest point requirement now that I think of it. So yeah, here is one of the few rune pieces of armor that I will have for the foreseeable future. And at the same time, completing the chunk, which always feels good. Alright, let's see what the wheel has for us today. The Lumbridge Mill. Can't remember exactly what was here, but I remember it was not a lot. Complete sheep shear, kill a duckling, kill a farmer. You know what that means. Gonna go bust out those tasks real quick, and we will be back to the chunk picker before you know it. Don't get mad at me. The chunk picker said I had to murder a farmer. Alright. That's the only reason I did it. This dude was just minding his own business, and I just came up here and murdered him, and I feel kind of bad about it. But the chunk picker made me do it, bro. Speaking of murdering innocent things, the chunk picker also says I must murder an innocent duckling, because I've never done that. And you're not living until you murder a duckling. Everyone knows that. So, sorry, duckling. Have a 2, have a 1. Goodbye. Feels very rude. Sometimes chunk picking can be dark. As promised, it would not take me too long to complete sheep shearer, kill a duckling, and kill a farmer. So here we are, back at the chunk picker, with our fate on the line again. The only thing that has changed since the last chunk roll from this episode is we now have access to the Champions Guild chunk, which surprisingly has 0 tasks. There are some stores inside of the Champions Guild, but I cannot get in them because I think you either need a certain amount of quest points or you need to have completed Dragon Slayer. Long thought there. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I can get in there. If I can, there will be some things to buy at the shops that are gear upgrades, and I might make myself buy everything from those shops because those are some of the more impactful shops of free-to-play. But the chunk picker seems to think that I cannot get in there as well, I believe, so we will find out. Other than that, potential tasks is literally none. So there are no new NPCs there. I don't know what this dungeon is, but I apparently can't get in it. And there is a little mine there. What does that mine have? I don't believe it has any coal. It looks like there is clay. Iron. I already have silver, which I don't have. And tin, yeah. So no coal. Not helpful in the mining department. Hello, update. As you can see, it was just earlier today that I rolled this chunk here, so we're sitting at January 17th. Let's see where we are headed next. It's a long roll. Does it always go that long? No. Oh no. Not again. Oh, fuck. Well, as I explained in the explanation, This little symbol right here allows me to get into the Varrock sewers, which unlocks Briefafida, which in and of itself is not that crazy, and every free-to-play account should strive to kill Briefafida and finish the drop table even, I'd say, but Briefafida drops rune bars, and that is a grind that I don't know that I can do. I will have to give it some thought, and I will put some numbers up at some point so that you can understand why that hurt my soul to roll that chunk. But with what I have access to, which is no mithril and no coal, yeah, I can't even fathom how long that would take. Oh boy. 43 chunk tasks, though, aside from that issue. And look at Briefafida's drop table. The essence, adamant plate body, adamant kite shield, rune axe, rune longsword, rune plate legs. This is basically best in slot everything for free to play on this drop table. So that is pretty sweet. I did not know there were Zamorak monks down there. So in that way, this is really sweet. It is this that we are going to have to talk about.